Alright. So we should be live there. Hello everyone and welcome back to Corey Loses, where today we are continuing our Thrawn's Revenge Imperial Civil War 2.2 preview playthrough of the Empire of the Hand live. I think this is the first live stream we've done in this particular playthrough, but we're getting close to the end, so I thought I'd take this chance to just do some of these battles, take some of these planets that the Rado Authority has, maybe avoid this fleet for now, and answer some questions while we do some of the cleanup here. After this playthrough, we're going to do the base game Rebellion campaign quickly, and then we're going to jump into the Imperial Remnants preview in Operation Shadowhand. So we'll do that. Hey there, Mike and NGX Eliminator and Django. Yeah, so I just didn't want to have the Awakening of the Rebellion Empire playthrough going on at the same time as the as our Imperial Remnant playthrough for Thrawn's Revenge. So I wanted to put some Rebel stuff in there to space it out a bit, and also get some of the extra stuff ready for that campaign. But yeah, so we'll get started here. I think we're gonna go from Coruscant, which we're gonna throw some turbolasers on, and we'll just take this fleet and we'll go after Sawspeak in there. I haven't gotten the Death Star started yet in AOTR. I think I do just need to double check what Bevel Emelisk is doing on BIS. There was the issue when I was doing the live stream before where some of the stuff fired, but then the game crashed, so I had to restart from parts of it, and either some stuff didn't fire the same way or I'd forgotten what I'd already done. So I think that's part of the confusion there. But yeah, so yeah, as Mike just mentioned there was a video that Captain Shaq on the XP Gamers put up today, for anyone who hasn't seen that yet, playing Ascendancy and talking about a lot of the Thrawn's Revenge stuff between all three mods, so definitely check that out if you haven't. But I don't think we'll be able to finish this today, Brent. There's still quite a few planets left that the Rado Authority controls. We're going to get through a lot of it, hopefully, but there's probably another week, maybe 2 weeks left in this playthrough. But let's take out these little raiders. I'm going to focus on this praetor first. And let's throw in Astroni there. And every time I think I'm going to make some progress in a specific way, the Rado Authority likes to attack and ruin my entire plan. So, especially with that giant executor fleet, it's going to be a bit tough. But yeah. And let's get these guys. So this fleet isn't going to be super fighter heavy, luckily. And start getting our bombers going on the other praetor. And I hate talking about Fall of the Republic, but how you're planning to divide the tech eras, barring pre-Clone Wars. So for the actual years of the Clone Wars, the tech levels are essentially going to be the 3 years. So year 1, year 2, and year 3. We'll have a. We're actually going to do a news post about that at some point, where we're talking about these specific events where we're putting those cutoffs, because it won't be like the exact to the day year thing. But usually there's a pretty big divide between what was available to each faction at that point, and it'll be more that different research options become available. It won't be as much as in ICW where everything just becomes available at once. There will be some of that that'll happen more with heroes, but a lot of the tech changes will require some research. But yeah, so that'll be something we talk about a bit more in the future. Okay, this Vindicator is, or Enforce, I think, no, that's got to be a Vindicator, it's not the BA. That's got to die. There we go. Don't know if anyone else has the problem with the AI spamming air units. The AI tends to like to pick certain types of units and then just go with them. We're going to try as much as we can to reduce that and change a lot of the AI behaviors where it's possible. But that'll be like an ongoing process throughout multiple releases, because it's a bit less predictable than you'd like. But yeah, the person you least expect. We won't really go into specific unit lists until we get the actual news posts up for them.
Planetary control achieved. Beginning construction.
For the Fall of the Republic factions. The Republic one should actually be relatively soon, but not quite yet. So I think we're gonna get that station there.
Right away, sir.
And maybe we'll go for K-List and then Fondor instead of going straight into Hakasi. I want to kind of leave them with a way out from here. Well, they're not really going to have a way out from there. Do we have nothing at Kashyyyk? No. The reason we don't have a super ship for the Empire of the Hand is because Thrawn was generally opposed to super weapons, and he was focused more on having a diversified fleet of capital ships, and it's especially good for the Empire of the Hand because they were covering a huge amount of territory with their fleet, so the more mobile assets they could have, the more they could dedicate different aspects of their fleet to different areas and divide it up as needed, the better they'd be able to address each threat. Super ship is kind of running counter to that. It's more about the psychological aspects of the weapon that the Empire wanted, and it just wasn't something that they would have really done. You make the Separatists have a bigger roster because in most other mods they focus on the Republic and not so much on the Separatists. That's typically because that's how it is in the lore. Like, there's only so many CIS ships available, whereas the Republic has a lot more available to them within... Like, there's more known Republic ships than CIS ships, and same goes for vehicles.
Choose your reinforcements.
Because we're kind of stuck with the constraints of the universe we're working in. And, well, it's relatively close. There are a lot more known Republic things.
Enemies in range. Stay in formation. Get behind them.
Are you planning to make other mods after Fall of the Republic? It really depends where we are in our lives after that, what I'm doing, my own. Because as long as I'm doing YouTube as essentially a full-time job, then doing more mods is a lot more feasible and even good for the channel because it's more stuff to play, more stuff to talk about. But if at the point where I have to get a different job, or if this doesn't continue growing the way it has, then I have less time to do modding because modding takes away from time spent on, like, the more I'm at other workplaces or even just traveling for work, it's a lot more difficult to find time for modding, and we certainly wouldn't be able to keep up as many mods as we have been able to when doing something else as a full-time job. So really it all just does depend on where we are all at in our lives. It's
standing by. Scouting location. Awaiting orders.
Okay, so where are...
Ready to go.
I didn't quite see what they had here. I want to make sure we're not going to come across any turbo lasers or artillery.
We're going in.
Ooh. Yeah, these are still super OP. I'm going to fix that as soon as I'm done with this playthrough, but for now you can use it. Why not?
Ground target locked. Ready for attack. Roger that. Right away. Commander.
Oh crap.
All weapons loaded. Ready, sir.
Why does the Venator only have 3 squadrons in... Oh, I'm gonna buff the Golden 3. I noticed they're kind of weak. They have accurate amounts of weapons, and they're actually able to take on 1 or 2 capital ships on their own, which is pretty accurate for them. So they're not super far off where we want them to be. But yeah, so I don't think we'd make significant changes to the Golden 3. For Ascendancy, why does the Venator only have 3 fighter squads? The way it works in Ascendancy is they have their full number of fighter squads within the actual ship. Like, the fighter supply is for the full amount, and that's how many they can field overall. but at any given time you can only field if a ship has fighters, it gets 1 squadron. If a ship is a dedicated carrier, it gets 2 or 3 at a time. And if it's a capital ship, you add 1 on whatever it is. So a capital ship carrier would be 3 or 4. But if we were to put every cannon fighter in its allotment on the field at once, the game would be literally unplayable because of all the lag. So that's why we use the fighter supply system to represent their entire complement, because then those ships can replace them more. Like the Venator is capable of replacing its losses far more than most other ships. But yeah. So I think I missed another question up there a little bit. I don't have a unit list for Fall of the Republic, but do need some suggestions for Separatist Space Heroes. We've got a pretty good lock on the heroes. Like, we did a lot of digging on Wikipedia and through some stuff, but if people want to make more suggestions for things as we go, we do have a sub-forum for Fall of the Republic specifically on the forums at thrawnsrevenge.com /forums. But yeah, so typically it's best to wait until we've done the actual announcement posts for the factions rosters before making more suggestions, because we may or may not have actually found it. But if you want to make the suggestions now, then we can definitely look at them.
Right away. Moving out.
Let's see. Why do you avoid building / using many units whenever you play Empire or /FOC? Even now in the current Empire Hand playthrough, you're nowhere near your pop cap, your military size is increasing. That's actually because my military keeps getting destroyed. I've been pretty much spending credits whenever I've had them. Whenever I get to about 60,000, I've been building as much as I can. But we've been getting attacked a lot and losing a lot of our ships. Because the economy is much harder to manage in 2.2 than it was in 2.1. So it's not always as feasible to fill out the pop cap as it would have been in previous versions. Like, I think in the Warlord Zinj playthrough I was a lot higher up, but sometimes it's that, but sometimes I do just feel like if I've got enough ships to kill whatever is left on the map, then I stop building as well. But right now it really is just that it's been very difficult to maintain a higher number of ships. The Rito Authority especially has been quite a pain. And even Zinj and Maldrude, up until we killed them last episode, were putting up a pretty good fight. So we've been kind of on the back foot.
Yes, Commander.
When you release this, how will we get this? Oh, according to the wiki, the Empire gave the AT-AT light turbos after nowhere. Well, the AT-AT is not overpowered in my opinion. It's the air strikers that are overpowered. Like, they're just way too strong at good at everything. So that's the thing that I want to nerf. I don't want to nerf the AT-ATs. Because we want air units to be useful, but there's a lot of power just in their ability to scout the map. And right now, air units are also very difficult to target for a lot of units. So if we make them have as much firepower as they do, and be good at scouting and be just the best at literally everything, then it's kind of a problem. Yeah, we've seen the Lucid Dream before too. A lot of our stuff from a lot of our research that we did from the original run of Fall of the Republic, we still have. So a lot of the original assets and stuff. There's some ground units that we actually lost the models of when we initially did it that were actually pretty good, which is kind of sucks because it would make it all a lot smoother. But we can still remake it. But yeah, what are the destructible asteroids for? They're really just map props, and they turn into asteroid fields. So just kind of for some extra stuff to kill on the map. I used to think a lot about doing like destructible terrain on the ground. Or not terrain, but like trees and stuff. So if you ever played Age of Empires, how you could like cut a path through a forest, you could either use your villagers to do it, or you could just like use your trebuchets or tree buckets and just do ground attacks with them, and you could carve your way through forests. And that always seemed like it would be a fun thing to do, but it would require remaking out like all the maps around it and trying to turn the game more into Company of Heroes. would be nice, but not really
Awaiting your orders.
feasible.
Fire at will.
Another attack. They're coming in quick. More enemies left.
And someone asked before, or Mike asked, when we release this, how will we get it? On our mod database page, well, that's where the download will be. There might be a few other sites where we put mirrors, I'm not really sure. The landscape of mod downloading has actually changed a lot since 2.1, so we'll have to look into a bit more where mirrors are getting used. But definitely mod database, and then we'll post links to it on like the Facebook page, the website, all that stuff. So, there will be announcements on the channel as well. So you'll see it. When it happens, you'll see it. I'm having a hard time. I'm at Max Tech and Empire at war. I'm Empire. Should I spam Star Destroyers or build more ground troops? If you spam enough space units, you can just take over all the space over every planet. And you can just park your units and then sell off what you don't need. Leave one ship over each planet you don't own. And then you can build all your ground units. You can do it that way. That can be pretty effective.
Star Destroyer standing by. Our target
It's less fun from a, I guess, roleplay kind of perspective, but it's an effective way of doing things.
Target locked. I'm on them. Excellent.
coming around. Nowhere.
The MMT I can see on the asteroids hanging out capital ships like the Clone Wars episode.
Draw their fire. I got one. Attack formation.
Have you seen the Siren Verdartham? No. I don't think so. I'm not sure what that is. Oh, you need to die over here.
Them in my sights.
Our shields are down.
I don't love the Arado Authority having the color it does. Sloaney and I were talking about potential colors to use for the factions that are in now and upcoming factions as well. There's so many factions in the mod now, and so many that we were talking about adding, that you start running out of colors.
Course set. Regroup for another attack. They're coming in quick.
How's the audio level for everyone? I've got everything set up slightly different than I did before. I've been trying to bump the audio up a little bit so that it's a bit louder instead of just being my voice, but I'm not 100% sure where we stand at the moment.
Awaiting orders. Awaiting your orders.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Last Jedi.
Awaiting your command.
I'm gonna wait until there's a bit more revealed about it before I start getting
Excellent shot.
too excited, but you know, you were supposed to kill that.
I have them now.
Choose your
This is why we can't have nice things.
Navigating to coordinate. Taking fire.
I got one.
Got him on the run. Coming around.
And no, I've not played Force Commander or Galactic Battlegrounds. I thought about picking them up during the last sale to do a playthrough, and I might do that at some point, but so far I have not. Gondor. Is this the mod map for this? I hate this map. Hate this map so much. But it does look like it's not. Well, we have a lot of airstrikers, so we'll be able to find stuff fairly easily. So we'll grab that. Okay, so it's still a little quiet. I'm gonna bump it up just a little bit, and we'll see how far I can creep up with this before it starts being annoying. It's taking a lot for me to get used to the new names we made for the Empire of the Hand ships. Alright, so
Moving out.
Choose your reinforcements.
grab some of these guys. We'll get 2 squads of them again, and we're gonna send our soldiers down here. Like, even if this map just started, like, we cut off this whole section and just you start down here, and the next LZs you fight over this one or this one, that would be a lot better. But
Form up.
instead, we put this gigantic, stupid path here, and I don't know why.
Awaiting orders. Let's move out. Let's go.
I'm only going to be using 2 squads of airstrikers per battle usually,
This way.
just for the scouting purposes, especially on these larger maps.
Scouting location. Executing flyby. Yes, sir. Copy. Copy. En route. Moving
We've
to coordinates.
secured a landing zone.
All right, men, take cover. The enemy has been spotted.
I copy.
Alright. I'm gonna just head down here, see if there's a power gen. I'm not sure if there were any turbo lasers because I wasn't paying attention. But let's grab a
Reinforcements.
couple of these Gozanes, an MMT, maybe an RFT squad.
Reinforcements cancelled.
No, I don't want reinforcements cancelled. I want reinforcements to come and save us.
Course plotted.
No.
Reinforcements cancelled.
Do this.
Adjusting.
Okay, so it looks like there's not any power gen here. Why did we rename some of the ships in the Empire then? We were trying to go for a bit more consistency in the naming conventions.
Right away.
So we were looking at how a lot of the Republic ships and some of the Imperial ships
Moving out.
used like Latin-based names, so Venator, Acclamator, Secutor. A lot of those ships are based off of Latin words. So since we had the Phalanx already, we decided what we'd do with the Empire of the Hand is try to make them a bit more like Greek-based. So a lot of the Empire of the Hand ship names now are Greek words.
Attack.
And yeah, so we renamed a lot of the ones that already existed with more Greek words to sort of go along with the Phalanx. So like the Prosfoli, the Froro, which I'm going to pronounce them all incorrectly, but they are actual words. So there we go.
Keep going.
We're going to add more heroes for the Empire that are pursuable for all leaders, or purchasable for all leaders. The Empire has a lot of heroes, especially compared to, well,
Ready.
the difficulty with adding heroes for the New Republic and the Empire, or the Imperial Remnant, is that they already have more than the other factions, so we don't want to give them too much they can get. There are a few we're adding in 2.2 for both factions, but in general we don't want them to like have more heroes than the other factions have units. But
We've lost a good fight.
right, they've set up a roadblock for us here.
Ready to go.
Let's send the airstrikers back. We'll get them to go get the production while our tanks go in the front door here. Or some go in the front door and the others wait to get let in. Here we go. Infantry taking the front line. That's really what they're for.
Fire at will.
Destroyed.
Attacking. Targeting. Firing.
There we go.
We're going in.
Bomber standing by.
Bomb run cancelled.
So, like, some were leaving with their original names. Like the Ascendancy is staying as the Ascendancy, but
Unit destroyed.
Bomber squadron reporting.
okay, let's do this.
All weapons loaded.
These guys got a little farther in than I expected them to.
Destroyed.
Keep working. Give me
You guys need to go in so you're not shooting through the wall.
attacking. Target. Firing. Tank brigade. Entering battlefield. Right away. Copy. Moving out.
Hey there, Ryan. Isn't Greek already associated with Tion? I don't know that much about the Tion hegemony, but they're also very old. And it was just really a way to make everything a bit more consistent within the Empire of the Hand. So it's
Aggressive fire. Roger that.
Greek and Latin aren't real things in Star Wars anyways, so it's just they can come from similar roots.
Roger that.
Not that concerned about it that much, but it was really just to get consistency within the faction.
Reporting in.
Form up. Commence assault.
Are there any new factions coming for Ascendancy and new heroes or units? There will be more factions coming up. We've announced the Hapens, but we won't be working on
Goal achieved.
any new factions for Ascendancy until after 2.2 comes out for Imperial Civil War. Then we'll be developing the Hapens probably for both Imperial Civil War and Ascendancy.
Beginning construction. Beginning construction.
because we want to be trying to
Construction complete.
make everything synergize as much as possible. So we'll probably be working on Fall of the Republic at the same time as working on some of the Hapen stuff, maybe one or two other factions for ICW at the same time, and trying to work in some of the stuff that we want to do for 2.2, but we are afraid would make it a bit too unstable if we try to do too much at once. I talked about that a little bit with Shaq, but we'll also have some of that coming up in the next news post for ICW, which will possibly be this week, when I'm going to do the era breakdown for Era 4, and then I'm going to... I'm in that thing, I'm going to cover what's left to do for 2.2, what the goals are for the remaining work in 2.2, and then what we also want to do to expand on that in 2.3, because we're essentially breaking our original goals for 2.2 into two parts with that, partially so the mod doesn't take forever, but also partially because we want to make sure it's all stable and we want to have as few confounding factors at once. So like if we try to do everything at once, then it's harder to know if stuff breaks, which is breaking it. We'd rather have the basis set up in 2.2 and then do some more of the fleshing out, especially with stuff like story missions in 2.3. So that's essentially how that's going to work. But yeah. Are you going to add any non-playable factions like the small warlords? There are already a few in, like there's the Antimeridian sector, there's
Moving to coordinates.
Zero Command. The Q-Trick Hegemony we're mostly working in.
Moving to coordinates.
They'll be present in some way. There's one GC where they're playable as the Imperial Remnant side,
We've got them on scope.
because they were a bit more tightly associated with the Remnant proper for most of their history, or for most of this period, especially right after Thrawn, or right around Thrawn, when the whole Izzard clone stuff happened. But there'll be some cases where they're also on the map as their own faction. There's several small warlord groups that will be present on the map that we just haven't specifically announced, because it's more just we'll have them mentioned in the GCs where they're present usually, or in the news posts about the GCs where they're present. But they're fairly, since they're minor groups, we didn't really want to do specific announcements about any of them. Just they're a lot more about the flavor stuff.
Reporting in. Firing.
Stay in formation.
Alright, so Hakasi. I'm going to queue up a couple more units after this, and then we're going to try to take this fleet
Order confirmed.
and any of the new units to go take off that,
Coming around.
what's it called? That fleet for the EA that has all both of the executors and all those carriers.
Roger that.
So we'll try to deal with that main fleet over there.
Heading to destination. Form up. We're moving.
That might actually end up being what we do next episode. We'll see how long it takes for our fleet to actually build up. But it does seem like a lot of their military power is grouped up in that fleet, and I think one other that had a couple Praetors in it.
Copy.
So we'll see how that goes. What do you think about that Battlefront 2 will have an Imperial Remnant? I haven't been following the Battlefront 2 news as closely as I should be. So I don't know if you're saying that they will and what I think about that, or if I think they will. But
Underway.
assuming they will.
En route.
I mean, I guess if you want to call the First Order Imperial Remnant, then yeah. But okay, so it looks like actually Corellia to Duro to Denon, like Denon and Corellia attached to Duro, and that's how they got up through Kashyyyk and Sijan Sage. Because I was thinking that this would break off from Hakasi to like Hakasi, Corellia, Duro, Denon, and they wouldn't be connected to the rest of the map. But I should know better because I'm the one that did connect them. Do we want to hold on? Which map is this? Okay, so we'll take this, and I think we'll do the top right planets up in Zinja's territory, or Zinja's old territory.
Roger that.
Is that the Mediator class? The problem with the Mediator class is that
Right away, sir.
there isn't a design for it, there isn't any stats for it, and it was outside the time frame of the mod. So really, all there is about the ship is the name and a rough size, and the New Republic doesn't really need too many more ships. Especially stuff from outside the time frame, and in Era 5 they're already at such an advantage. Giving them more powerful ships by extending the timeline like that wouldn't be a great idea. There's only one situation in which I can think that we'd add stuff like the mediator, and us doing that is a little bit unlikely. That scenario, but where can I get this game? So yeah, you can get it on Steam, you can get it on GOG, and then the mod you can download. There's links in the description.
Attack.
Okay, so this is just the 2 AT-ATs. They haven't really built up too much here.
Right away.
We'll definitely take out those planets at the top right, free up some of their pop cap, and we'll see what they want to do with that. That's a complete waste of your shot.
Waiting orders.
Those are civilians.
Fire.
They didn't do anything to you.
Open fire. You get the ground. We'll cover the air. Attack that target. Following your lead.
The enemy has been
We'll cover
defeated.
you.
There we go. But yeah, with 2.3, we'll do a lot of the... We'll do at least one new playable faction, probably 2, maybe even 3, and then
Beginning construction.
will be... I think that's when I want to do the Empire of the Hand ground rework as well. Do all the ground units fresh for them.
Construction complete.
Beginning construction.
Beginning construction.
Alright, let's grab these guys,
Construction complete.
and let's head up to Findar. What I would also like to do is start building a couple new things. Let's get the capital shipyard there since we can. And let's start pumping out a couple anti-fighter ships, because they're going to have a lot of
Constructing unit.
carriers. They had, what, 37 in that fleet? 26 now. So I think some of them actually left. Unless it's some that they left here. Yeah. Okay, that looks about right. So they split that fleet up.
Imminent.
Hey there, Water Kelvin. Speaking of the New Republic, is the MPTL-2A being nerfed from the demo, its range and line of sight is insane. We're nerfing the line of sight from the artillery. We want to keep them being longer range than they typically were, but increase the cooldown on them. We want the artillery to sort of function as more as actual artillery. We're probably going to nerf the health on them a little bit, increase the cooldown, lower their own line of sight, and have them have a reasonable minimum attack range, so if stuff gets within that area, then they can't attack as well. Oh, we got a raid fleet coming in. So,
Choose your reinforcements.
I mean, if we deal with that stuff quick and well, I don't think we'll be able to kill all this before the raid fleet comes in,
Coming around.
but we can at least
Heading to
get
destination.
most of it.
At once.
I think there's an issue with some of the raid fleet stuff right now, where if stuff is killed under certain conditions,
Move out.
then the battle doesn't end properly. So I'm gonna have to look into that again. I think it's something that's carried over from the demo,
Lasers are our target.
because there were some changes that we made to how raid fleets functioned before the demo.
Destroyer standing by.
Let's chuck in some of these
Command received.
these guys, and I guess we've got enough room for another carrier.
Star Destroyer reporting in.
Excellent shot.
Yes, Commander.
Reporting.
Have them now. I'm on them.
There, Denell.
Look for another attack. They're coming in quick.
Coming around. Locking on.
Awaiting.
Alright, I'm gonna start turning around a couple of the ships to deal with the
Awaiting your order.
raid fleet, and then the rest we're just gonna send straight on through to deal with these Golans. These ships are low enough that we should be able to kill them with opportunity fire as well on the way past.
Getting a lock. Commander, they're
Alright,
hitting us.
oh, it's a really small raid fleet, so
Nowhere to run.
we got lucky.
Pulling out of formation.
Your command,
Draw
sir.
their fire.
Targeting.
Sir, I've detected.
Commander.
Attack formation.
Reporting in. Firing.
And
Their laser cannons.
Ready for battle.
The shields on holding.
Construction.
here we go.
Roger that. Engaging the enemy.
Actually lost a lot of health on this phalanx,
Form up. We've got them on scope.
so we'll let this stay here and help clean up some of these ships as well.
Launchers must be destroyed.
Regroup for another attack.
Stay in formation.
Destroyer here.
Eliminating target.
Victim.
Right away. Copy.
It's confirmed they will be in the game. What do you think about it?
Commencing.
Honestly, I haven't explored too much of the post-Endor lore, so what the Remnant is all about. In like, I know some of the stuff with like the
Reporting.
self-destruct qualities of them,
Standing by.
but I really don't have an opinion on it yet.
Falling out of formation.
I'll probably do more Battlefront reactions closer to the game.
Roger that.
talking about whether like some of the lore implications or even just gameplay stuff. But really, right now, I don't know enough to say too much. Why did you? Do you mean Jakku from the new lore? From Force Awakens and stuff? The reason for that is because that would be from the new Disney canon. This is from the Legends canon. So Jakku wasn't a planet. Jakku didn't exist in the old lore.
Roger that. Fire. Form up. Open
There we go.
fire.
Harska's been in the mod with the Shockwave for a few versions now.
Copy. Attack that target. I copy.
At least 2.1. I think he was in 2.0 as well.
Opening fire on the torpedo launchers. Fire at will. Reporting. Attacking. Star
All right,
Destroyer
let's
standing by.
hit the station too.
Star Destroyer reporting in.
There, got gun.
Our target priority
Glad you can make
is
it.
the laser cannons.
I copy.
So it's pretty spur of the moment. I think I only decided like half an hour before I started that I'd be able to do it. So
Firing. Awaiting your orders. Awaiting your command. Engaging the enemy.
yeah, any of the new stuff would be the Disney canon, so it wouldn't be. It's not really the same universe as what we cover in the mod.
Choose your reinforcements.
We've got them on scopes.
Roger.
All right, so we've got
Roger that.
just that stuff left. There we go.
Victorious.
Still a New Republic X-wing floating around. Can we maybe get a New Republic playthrough? Yeah, there will be a New Republic playthrough done.
Gunboat here, sir.
Construction
We're going to do the Empire.
Sir.
We did a poll at the start of this. There's going to be the Imperial Remnant first. Then the New Republic will probably be after that. We're going to do Rebel playthrough in Awakening of the Rebellion and also the Rebel campaign from the base game too in the meantime.
Gunboat here, sir. Gunboat here, sir.
Let's get our ground forces over.
Positioning.
And
Underway.
Findar, Column X, Yavin, and Cowron are the planets we got. Oh well, Cowron's ours
Gunboat
already,
here,
but
sir.
you need to clear off the ground or the space stuff there. We're going to be doing at least one playthrough with all the factions before 2.2 is released. We already did all the Warlords, and we've done Empire of the Hand now. So it's just the Remnant, the New Republic, and I think the Avitha that we have to
Choose
do.
your reinforcements.
We'll be there in a few seconds.
Have there been any changes to having heroes on the ground? I always avoid putting them on the ground because you have to micromanage them or do they die too easily? I'm not sure what you would mean by changes to that. We haven't made heroes significantly stronger because they were already really powerful. But
Adjusting Navic
I'm not sure exactly what you'd be referring to there.
Moving to that area, sir.
Yes, sir. Fall out, troops.
Right.
Yes, Commander. Let's move out. Copy.
Let's get some scouting going on here. Crap, alt-tabbed. Okay, we need to kill the IDTs.
Unit destroyed. Unit destroyed.
Ready.
Unit destroyed.
Ugh,
Choose your
they've got a ton of IDTs. Okay, we're gonna have to...
Moving out. Heading out, sir.
maximum unit capacity.
We don't have as much that can actually shoot the IDTs, so we're gonna have to use a lot more airstrikers right now.
Unit
Crap.
destroyed.
All weapons loaded.
Alright, we'll have to turn around the MMT.
T-4P. Reporting.
Unit destroyed.
Give me the
Unit
target.
destroyed.
Fire at will. Attacking. Target.
Why would you turn away from it?
Entering battlefield. Engaging.
It's too close.
Keep going. Spearheading assault.
No, you can shoot it. Just...
Commence assault. Over there.
There we go.
Yes, sir.
That's
Choose your
annoying.
reinforcements.
Alright, so we'll have to group up a bunch of IDTs and kill them on the way in.
Production halted.
Anything to... Well, they're already pretty powerful, so... Like,
Yes, Commander.
I guess it would depend on the hero you're specifically talking about. But, like, they're typically fairly strong, especially if you have them supported by some other decent units and then you don't just, like, send them in alone.
Ball out. Let's move out.
Unit destroyed.
Open fire. Let's go. Attack that target. Copy.
The enemy has
Oh, that's all they had.
We'll cover the air.
'Cause I guess they did take these planets fairly recently from Zinj, too. The really built-up stuff will be in the south.
goal achieved.
Building under construction.
Constructing.
Alright, so now I guess we'll go on to Column X, because it looks like that hasn't been built up very much either. Yavin's going to have a lot. That's the full 6 there.
Tactical battle imminent.
There we go.
Form up. Command received.
Another raid fleet, but I think we'll be able to actually kill everything they have here before
Moving out.
before the raid
Your
fleet gets in.
reinforcements.
Just
Reinforcements.
jump in.
Location locked, heading out.
We've come across enemy units.
Ooh, they do have
We shall be there shortly.
some
On the way.
golems.
Moving out.
They might actually be able to jump in the raid fleet before we can finish this off,
Reinforcements cancelled.
but we'll give it a shot.
Star Destroyer comms open. Mega Mazers
Reporting.
Focus on these guys.
Commencing.
Reporting. Advancing on target.
You're planning to add anything that makes commandos more viable? Commandos are a bit difficult to handle. We're going to add in some extra abilities for them, and then being able to fire while running should be helpful for them. But yeah, maybe even add the stealth thing just as a game mechanic. But the problem with that is the reason we don't have any stealth units is because the exporter does not cooperate when we try to export the stealth meshes. They just don't work. So that's what's held us back in the past. Hopefully we'll be able to rectify that and be able to use the ability, but so far that's been a problem. You managed to get a hold of Force Commander. You need an external installation software to install it. Managed to find a copy some days ago and needed the external software. Well, we'll see.
I copy.
Commander, they're hitting us.
Ooh, that's actually a lot of units.
Where'd he go?
ready to receive orders.
Nowhere to run. Falling out of formation.
We'll get that.
I've got them in my sights.
Alright, let's turn them around.
Shot.
Draw their fire.
Location locked.
Turn this around.
Engines activated. Coming back around.
Report.
I guess we'll just leave this phalanx to deal with that station.
Nice, Commander.
We should send as many of our fighters down as we can.
Ready. Location plotted. I'm losing. Attack formation. Go after the stragglers. I got.
Turn the particles up.
Locking on.
Regroup for another attack. They're coming in quick. All fighters attack. More enemy craft.
Taking
Star
fire.
Destroyer reporting
Commander,
in.
they're hitting us. Intercepting.
Yeah.
Commander.
Yeah, the Imperial Remnant playthrough will be in Shadowhand. I've been doing some of the work to finish that up in the last few days. I don't think I'll have the
Awaiting orders.
fracturing event for the Empire in yet, but yeah, that'll be the campaign we're playing next.
Gunboat here, sir.
Underway.
Gunboat here, sir.
Alright, will we even have to do much here? 'Cause I just, I worked on the different... We're changing how you get the Eclipse and the Lucentia, so you don't just start with them immediately. One of the things that we have an issue with how
Reinforcements.
SSDs work in the mod right now is they just become... They're too easy to get, and
Some unit
that kind of takes away from how important they are.
halted.
So aside from like direct balancing of them, it's sort of like how we did with Jarek, splitting him off from Vengeance and making Vengeance its own hero.
Standing by.
Palpatine will still be with the Eclipse, but you're going to have to actually build it to fire off some events and try to tie in some more story to them. But yeah, that's sort of what I've been working on. Once that's all done, we'll be ready for Shadow Hand.
They're over here.
Yeah, so they just have one IDT here. Perfect.
We've got them on the run.
I think a lot of their pop cap has also been taken up.
Achieved.
And this planet would have been Zinj's fairly recently.
Construction complete.
Beginning construction.
Alright, let's go take on the Yavin.
Orders confirmed.
Gunboat
Tactical
here,
battle
sir.
imminent.
Okay, so that's the base map. But I think what we're gonna end up sorry. I think what we're gonna end up doing is Shadow Hand for the Remnant, and then the Back to War for the New Republic,
Waiting orders.
and
Heading out.
well, Yavitha will be Black Fleet Crisis.
All out.
And then if depending on how long is left until the mod releases at that point,
This way.
I'm not sure. We'll probably do another poll. Maybe I'll put it up for the patrons to decide.
There.
I'd like to do one of the
Enemy forces
multi-era campaigns at some point as well, before release.
Let's move out.
And if not before release, then I really hate these backlit maps because you get the stupid. This is one of the worst for it. That stupid sun billboard is right there. But yeah, if we don't get to an Art of War campaign before 2.2 comes out, then probably the first thing we do
Attacking target.
during 2.3's development cycle is play
Command, sir.
Choose
play an Art of War campaign.
reinforcements.
Location locked.
At maximum unit capacity. Production halted.
Or if not Art of War, then like Imperial Civil War or Ruins of the Empire. Probably not Ruins of the Empire. I'm actually going to do the development for that GC as a live stream, a couple live streams. But it's going to be a really big campaign, so
Commander.
I don't know how conducive that will be to a
Roger that. Attacking.
full playthrough.
Target.
At least at first, because I'd like to get some more story events in some of the progressive campaigns. So maybe for like 2.4 even, but.
Form up. Engaging the enemy. We've got them on scopes. Attack commencing.
Around for another run. Getting a lock. Excellent shot.
Destroyer here.
But at that point, we'll also probably be getting into Fall of the Republic playthroughs as well. So
These are our target.
I don't want to. I don't think we'll be doing ICW playthroughs and Fall of the Republic playthroughs at the same time.
Attacking target.
We'll end up doing. We'll alternate them. So, because I'd like to stay at like maybe 4 days per week where we do EAW stuff,
Reporting. Fire at
rather than like the 5 or 6 that we've been doing recently. Try to get a bit more variety on the channel.
We are
Star
victorious.
Destroyer standing by.
What's next for the mod? Well, 2.2. Hopefully we'll have more information about
Gunboat here, sir.
how long we roughly expect stuff to take soon. But it's impossible to know actual release dates. Okay, so they're going straight at us.
Construction complete. Unit in production.
Vehicle in production.
They're getting ready to invade.
Construction
Construction
complete.
complete.
Well, so are we, so screw them.
Invasion commencing.
Alright.
Order acknowledged. Yes, Commander. Order, sir.
Crap, we've hit the selection freeze finally. Alright, so I'm gonna have to quickly use the defreezer. It's been like 300 weeks too, or 280? Yeah. Surprised it took this long. Alright, so I'm gonna have to
All forces.
quickly save. Save EOF 34 mid, and I'm gonna make a backup as well, because sometimes the defreezer can cause some issues, we think. 34 mid, backup. Kind of unfortunate that this is happening in the middle of a stream, but I'll just take care of that quickly. There we go. But yeah, so like I said a bit earlier, for Ascendancy, we are doing a version that we're just sort of working on. The game will be back in just a second there. That we will be working on a patch with some gameplay stuff. Instead of, we're not going directly into another faction just yet. And text not showing up. There we go. So yeah, so after that, we're going to try to sync up what we're doing with ICW and Ascendancy as far as art assets go. That's when we're also going to be working on Fall of the Republic as soon as 2.2 is released. But where is the defreezer? For the corruption defreezer. There we go. Sorry. Let's see. Users, app data. Saved games. Petroglitch, Wars of Corruption, save. Yeah. Okay. I think it bugged out a little bit there. Save game okay, so let's see. Hopefully that worked. I'll launch up now. It may have been the autosave there. It wasn't displaying the names properly. Uh-oh. Yeah, that was the wrong one. I think I need to update or download a different one. Yeah, I've never had it crash from the defreezer either, but we've had a few people report it, so I think it's a thing.
Sometimes
come
the
on.
last shot is the only shot you...
I don't want to play other people's ads on my channel. Oh, yeah, I think I was using V1. There we go. No, I don't know who that is. Of course, this had to happen on the live stream. Alright, so I need the second one there. For some reason, the defreezer is showing with buggy characters. I think I got the right one now, because the last one I just tried there was actually the AOTR save. The first one, luckily, I didn't just break something. But hopefully this will work. Okay, let's give it a shot. Hopefully that was the right file.
Invasion commencing.
Reporting.
Ah, no.
Awaiting orders. Ready.
Was it this one? It didn't.
Invasion commencing.
Yes, sir. Roger.
No, it was not. Back to the defreezer. Sorry about this, everyone. I don't know why it's displaying so weirdly. The message box. Right, open folder. Oh, there we go. Don't know why it was acting weird before, but I think we got it now. This is easily the most exciting part of the stream. Any stream ever, really. It's actually an issue, Ryan, with it's an engine issue where the game stops being able to track units. You have to exit the game, use the defreezer to reset the value in the save file, and then you have to go back in.
Reporting.
Here we go.
Moving out.
Problem solved. Like, just exiting and re-entering won't really do it, because the value that causes the problem stays the same.
Choose your reinforcements.
Course plotted.
And now we should be good for the rest of the playthrough.
Computer.
At
Course
maximum
plotted.
unit capacity. Production halted.
The time at which it's happened has been significantly decreased between, or we've increased the time it takes before it happens, so the rate at which it occurs is far lower now in 2.2 than in 2.1, and even now from when this playthrough started, largely through changing how many projectiles are being used. Unfortunately, it's not something we can remove entirely because it is a problem with Empire at War itself, with the engine.
Secondary position.
So we'd have to be able to edit the engine to do that, and that's not legal or possible.
Scouting location. Executing flight.
But we want to make it as painless as possible for people to actually use the defreezer.
Copy.
The Stark Hyperspace War is
Moving.
one of the likely candidates for things we covered in Fall of the Republic before.
We're going in.
Oh,
Right away.
there's an AT-AT.
Moving out.
Before we, or once we get to the time periods before the Clone Wars.
Roger that. Underway.
Support order acknowledged.
It wouldn't be in the initial release, but it's one of the major areas we'd like to cover afterwards.
Going.
We secured a build pad.
But a lot of that kind of stuff depends on how many people we get actually working on the mods. Because the team is much smaller than people seem to think.
Moving to secondary position.
And it can fluctuate kind of wildly, so it's hard to make any commitments that long term without knowing when it's impossible to know how many people will have working on it.
We secured a
We'll
build
cover
pad.
you.
Destroyed.
We'll back you up.
We lost a build
No, I don't think I've played Empire War Online since like 2008.
Roger that. Over there. Ground target locked.
I've talked about it with Jin. May eventually do some sort of multiplayer playthrough, but
Scouting location. Initiating sweep.
T4B ready. Right away.
Empire at War is such a hassle to work online, especially with mods, that it just never really been worth it before.
Give me a touch. Tank brigade here.
Let's get the MMT to kill the
Fire.
ATAP.
Open fire.
We'll go for the factories over there.
Orders. Attack.
If you use power to weapons, the slowdown on the air strikers actually really helps,
Open fire.
because they may take more time to do their pass, and then they're not like flitting back and forth over it.
Attacking target. Fire at will.
bombing run
Moving
available.
out. Attacking. Targeting.
Bombers standing by.
Copy. Executing flyby.
Ooh, AT.
Firing.
I copy. Attack that
Kill it.
target.
Kill it with fire.
Form up.
Oh, kill it with bombers. Even better.
Entering battlefield.
That was helpful.
Roger. Right away, sir.
Is that a bunker? Yes. I'm not too bad there, Lacquer. How are you? Lacar?
Secured a
Not
build
Lacquer.
pad.
That's more paint related.
Boarding in.
Sensor node
Roger that.
constructing.
Awaiting orders.
Construction complete.
Long time friend Star Wars fan and new to your channel. Thanks for all the work you and your team have put into correcting imperfect EAW and creating a new word. Oh, thank you. Glad you enjoy it.
I copy, sir.
We're really looking forward to people having 2.2, partially so that no one asks us when it's coming out, but also
Copy.
because it makes us sad knowing that people are playing old versions, and
En route. Attacking target. Moving to coordinates.
that's rough, Mike.
We secured a build pad.
Heading out, sir. Yes, sir. Spearheading assault.
We'll cover you.
I do not recommend that people watch this while at work or in
We
class.
lost a build
Fire at
pad.
will.
Suppressive fire.
Attacking. Targeting.
Providing backup.
Firing.
Will cover. Commence assault.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot to start
We're going in.
Right behind.
building up our fleet more for the battle against that executor, or the two executors. Started building all the anti-fighter, but still have 93,000 credits and
System conquered.
very few ships. So let's take a moment to do that. Let's grab.
In production.
Ooh, no. We'll use Bilbringi to build a couple failing, or a bunch of peltists. Kuat we'll use for ASDs, and we'll use Saika for a bunch of Phalanx and Cynics. I don't know why I wanted to call it Providence.
Construction complete.
Ascendancy at the ready.
Constructing.
Building under
Building.
We're
construction.
gonna start building turbo lasers everywhere we can, and that's all of our credits spent. So now we're just gonna take out this little fleet here.
Construction complete.
Location locked. Heading out.
Construction complete.
What's your favorite rebel ship?
Imminent.
Hmm. A good question. I really like quasars. Ooh, assault frigates, actually. That's
Copy that.
my favorite rebel ship.
Advancing. Acknowledge.
Choose your reinforcements.
Alright, let's get ready to jump these guys in.
Coordinates.
It's a lot of fighters.
Navigate.
We're gonna want to go pretty heavy on the ascendancies here. Let's pop the Antigo up there. I'm really kind of upset that I haven't been able to finish
Flank speed.
the Antigo skin yet in the model.
Set. TIE squadron here. I got one. Back
A
around.
lot of power weapons.
Attack formation.
Orders, sir. Locking on. Activating.
Star Destroyer.
Alright, let's get the Antigo just straight up in there.
Target locked.
Star Destroyer.
I was kind of expecting there to be a raid fleet here. Let's get all of our capital ships just
Coming around.
straight in there.
Another attack.
And get some of these carriers taken down with a couple or furrows in there.
System is down. Our launch bay is gone.
There already is a Katana fleet mission in the Thrawn GC for both the Rebels and the Empire. Or the New Republic and the Empire.
Our target priority is the laser
Uh,
cannon. Order confirmed.
the character should pop up and queue it for you after you take certain planets. I think it's
Are our target.
Merkur and Pentalaman? Hey there, class.
Awaiting orders. We've got them on.
My favorite fighter is probably the Clockcraft.
Torpedo launchers must be destroyed.
Orders, sir.
It's not a cannon unit, it's when we made, or actually it's a design that we asked someone to use and then made the model of, but it's not a cannon design, but I really do like the Scarsis Clawcraft right there too.
Target locked.
Your command. Attack. Our target priority is the laser cannons.
Primary drive system is down. Getting a lock. Intercepting.
Right, well, we haven't been using any of these fighters. Send them in.
Target locked.
But the thing we got to be concerned about here is once this fleet's taken down, they'll have a lot more pop cap opened up to start building stuff up in the south. And so they'll likely be able to attack us a bit more. In my time zone, it's currently 5:08 p.m. So there we go.
Getting a lock. Taking fire. Commander, they're hitting us. Eliminating target.
Target locked.
Intercepting.
Destroyer here.
Let's
Opening
do
fire
that.
on the torpedo launchers.
Nowhere to run.
Most beautiful ship in Star Wars? Well, I like a lot of the old Republic ships. It's like the Knights of the Old Republic era, so like the Hammerhead, the Foray Corvette, even the round one that I can't remember the name of right now.
Standing by.
But that era in general is my favorite for ship designs.
Where'd he go? Nowhere to run.
We got a lot of this time. There's really not that much left as far as
The lasers
planets to take in this GC. Ooh, there's some anti-fighter right there. I've been missing those.
Attack formation.
Stay in formation.
Go after the
Will the Warlord factions be in reunification and you send Dal and Saw speak and they immediately join you after the apes? It won't be handled quite like that because then the GC would be really short, but it will have a lot of the Warlord groups in it and you will have to reunite them in different ways.
Our target
But
priority is the laser cannons.
it won't reflect exactly how it happened in canon because then like you just basically immediately do it and you don't really get much out of it. Like there's not much of a challenge there. It doesn't work as well as a game mechanic as it does as just a plot element in the book.
Fire at will.
But we want to keep it fairly close to how it happened and represent it with Dala taking over the Warlord territory. Well, C-Class. Yeah, that's it. Inexputable. Well, thanks, Admiral BJT. What are you most looking forward to in Last Jedi? Well, it seems like there's going to be at least one space battle with hopefully a couple more new ships than what they've shown off so far. Because I honestly don't love that the heavy bomber, the New Republic one, or the Resistance one. I'm not sure if it's New Republic or Resistance, but I'm hoping to see some new ships. That would be nice. Yeah. Like, Battle of Endor is probably one of my... and the Battle of Coruscant. They're probably my favorite scenes in the respective trilogies. Just because I like seeing the Star Wars space battles in movies, like, as far as... it's obviously not a plot-heavy part, but it's one of my favorite things to watch from the series.
Complete.
Assault tank reporting for duty.
But, well, hopefully there's more than just the one bomber they've shown so far. I really liked the space battle in Rogue One, especially with the Hammerhead Corvette.
Construction complete.
Star Destroyer
Move
reporting
this
in.
down and get it ready for
Underway.
when we need to use that stuff. I think we have enough area down here to...
Construction complete.
Where are you going? You can't just leave like that.
Star Destroyer
Alright, well,
reporting
let's
in.
go down to Kuat. Let's get these guys heading over to Kuat as well.
Heading to destination.
Ooh, they're attacking.
Constructing unit.
Let's start building up some more ground units everywhere we can.
Constructing unit.
I think, honestly, I prefer the Battle of Scarif to the Battle of Endor. Like, Endor's good and all, but like the action scenes are better, and like the whole sense of desperation I think was better in Scarif as well. Because like they technically won, but it
Fallout troops.
wasn't that much of a victory.
Let's move out.
Would you add the Smugglers Alliance? We have certain Smugglers Alliance members as heroes for the New Republic, but they wouldn't really make their own faction. There weren't that many of them, and they didn't like control planets or anything like that. They weren't a government.
Behind you. Target locked. This way.
Let's quickly
Attack.
head down here.
Build pad.
Fire. Come on, man, this way.
Unit destroyed.
We lost the build pad.
Open fire.
Base is under attack.
Attack that target. Over there.
Scarif and Endor were made at the same time with the same effects you would still prefer Scarif.
Destroyed.
Yeah, if it was just like a difference in the effects and not a difference in what's actually happening in the battles, then yeah, I'd probably still say Scarif. Like everything that's happening on the Death Star 2 would probably put, or second Death Star, would probably put it over Scarif for me, but
T2B over.
like if we're just looking at, oh crap, if we're just looking at the space battle versus the space battle, then Scarif. Like I don't want to take anything away from Endor and what went into it by saying that, but it, like if I had to pick one to watch right now, I'd probably say Scarif.
Preparing for jump to light speed.
Any faction for Admiral Hodge. Zero Command will be in. It won't be playable in 2.2. We may eventually make it playable if we've got some other assets to use for them to make them a bit more unique. But like Zero Command is there, Harsk is there. Do you prefer the Empire of the Hand, the better faction, or the other former Imperials? Well, the Empire of the Hand is my favorite faction in general. So actually, let's send in
T2B over. T2B over.
these guys.
Assault tank reporting for duty.
I want to see what's going on in some of their planets. Well, they split up a lot of their stuff. Wait, do they have both executors there or just the one? Okay, they only have one executor there. It might be... This might be our best opportunity to take that out. We don't have many... I want to get some more carriers before we do that. Let's grab a couple Oriettes.
Assault tank reporting for duty.
And Kuat... No. Where do we have a level 2 station already? May as well just use Bilbringi. Some Narutos. A couple Carriex, I guess.
Assault tank reporting for duty.
Oh, they're leaving.
T2B over. Star Cruiser here.
Cruiser reporting.
I was thinking about, for a while, doing a video on like the 5 most important battles in the expanded universe, so like the ones that, in my opinion, have the biggest impact on the overall plot of the expanded universe. But I never really got around to it. Condor. Ooh, you guys are just going around for it.
Cruiser reporting.
Under construction.
I don't want to have to...
Star Cruiser here.
Tactical battle imminent.
Alright, that's 2 executors. Let's just... Yeah, let's do it.
Imminent.
I think he's probably talking about the... No, wait, no, that was a different name. Never mind. Crap, I don't know if we'll be able to hold this off. I think we won't be able to hold this off.
T4B ready. Underway.
I think Shockwave was destroyed before Era 4.
Right away.
Unit destroyed.
Take this. Fire at will. Copy.
Is there any more mods coming out or being worked on that you're excited for? If not, well, I'm excited to see what comes out next for Pegasus Chronicles. I really want to play that update once the stability issues are worked out a bit more. Especially once they get into the point where they're doing maybe like the Wraith War, or not the Wraith War, the Towery Gold War.
Let's move out. We'll assist you. Let's go. Orders.
Did they kill? Yeah, I guess they killed one type of the humans.
Keep going. This way. Over there. T4B mobile. Moving into position. Right away, sir. Underway. Almost there. Heading out. Right away.
We are
Oh, there we go. Kratos is still going to be in the mod. He's always been in, so we're not going to remove him. That only... Yes, that's 1 executor. I think we may as well do this now. The best opportunity we're going to get and not have to worry about the second one.
Cruiser reporting.
Tactical battle imminent.
Yeah, Kratos is staying in the mod. Alright, so I think we won't jump anything in. We haven't decided whether we're going to do anything with lock stuff.
Enemy unit sighted.
Yeah, we've got Cronus, but we've also got Kratos. Kratos. Krats.
Boat here, sir. Targeting
The Krat brothers.
Targeting systems active.
Alright, so let's here, how we're gonna do this. I think we're gonna jump in on this side. Let's get the peltists in here.
Reinforcements cancelled.
We'll get there. Location locked. Heading out.
I want to get them all.
Star Destroyer comms open. Ready to receive orders. Firing sequence engaged.
That way.
Orders.
We'll jump in some ascendancies this way.
Move out.
Then an Intigo,
Setting
an anti-fighter. Let's get the bombers going there.
Reporting in.
Go after the stragglers. Regroup for another attack.
Comms open. Thrawn,
They're coming in quick. More enemy craft.
Mega Man.
Whether Kratos is directly in reunification, I'm not sure, because I think what we're doing with reunification is sticking more to the actual reunification part and not the part where she's initially coming out of the maw.
Roger that.
So he'll have a relatively minor role in the mod, but he will still be there.
Standing by.
Nowhere to run. Falling out of formation.
For the Empire.
Draw their fire.
Star Destroyer comms open.
Attack formation.
No, the back door won't be just fighters.
Undetected. Go after the stragglers. Regroup for another attack. Target locked. Excellent shot. I got one. They're quick.
The Corellian gunship still. I don't think we ever took away the concussion missiles.
Destroyer here.
Taking fire. Commander, they're hitting us.
If they aren't using them, that would be a bug, but I'm pretty sure they are.
Where'd he go?
I haven't had an issue with them, but I also
Where to run?
I copy.
haven't played the NR in a while. What inspired you to create the mod?
Attack formation.
Initially, it was just adding Thrawn as a hero, because it wasn't in the base Empire War,
Target.
and then it just sort of ballooned from there,
Got them in my sights.
Star
and then we were too
Destroyer
stubborn to
standing
quit.
Another attack. Coming back around for another.
At
shall be there
maximum unit
shortly.
capacity.
Getting
Production
alive.
halted.
Eliminating target.
Okay, so these Praetors,
I'm on.
or the Praetor,
Target locked.
decided to go
Stay in
ruin our day in the back here, so we'll have to keep the Intego firing at the
Yes,
Get
Commander.
behind them. I have them now.
at the Executor. We're going to use the other ships here to deal with the Praetor.
In range.
More enemy
They've
craft.
taken out our launch bay.
Taking fire.
Our shields are down. Our lasers are destroyed.
Form up.
Our engines are gone, sir. Engaging the
My
enemy.
sights.
Cronus is pretty much unchanged from
Back around for another.
previous versions.
Awaiting orders. The lasers are our target.
Choose your
Alright, we've got a couple extra slots here. Try to jump out a little bit out of range.
Intercepting. I'm on them.
Excellent shot.
Awaiting your
I
orders.
got one.
Locking on.
And here we go.
Awaiting orders. Commencing
Awaiting
attack
your
run.
command. Your
Stay
command,
in
sir.
formation. Falling out of formation. Draw their fire. Enemies in
The
range.
shields aren't holding.
Target locked. Get behind them.
Attack formation. Copy. I copy. Go after the stragglers.
We'll be doing a news post about Era 4 very soon as well, so a lot more details will be in there
Our
too,
launch
but
bay is gone.
Eliminating target.
More enemy craft.
yeah, Thrawn was in Forces of Corruption, but we started Thrawn's Revenge before Forces of Corruption was announced. We started the mod in June 2006. Like
The lasers.
initially, when I started modding, it was just had Thrawn as a hero, and then that turned into adding all the Grand Admirals in about a week. And then after that, I got together with some other people who wanted to do a lot more, so we started expanding the plans for the mod from that. And like Thrawn's Revenge itself, like the Thrawn as a hero thing
We've got them on.
would have been late May 2006, which like that wasn't a titled mod or anything, but then it expanded into Thrawn's Revenge with Empire of the Hand, Imperial Civil War, and Fall of the Republic by June 6th. And it wasn't until I think October of that year that Forces of Corruption was released,
Reporting in.
and we switched to Forces of Corruption. But that's really just how it started.
Regroup for another attack.
Yes, we got to be a bit careful. They're still going to want to jump in their
More enemy
It's going to jump in their other Praetor, I'm pretty sure. I think they had a second one.
Sir, I've detected. Where'd he go? Nowhere to run.
Falling out of formation.
No problem, Mike.
Draw their fire.
And yes, Kane will still be in Shadowhand.
Have them now. Reporting.
Roger that.
Basically all the warlords will be in Shadowhand.
I'm on them. Yes, sir.
Former.
This phalanx is a bit of in trouble.
Target locked. Excellent shot.
Let's drop in.
Go after the strike.
Well, we mostly just have capital ships here.
Reinforcements cancelled.
There we go.
Destination confirmed. We're on
Carriers.
Another attack.
Destroyer here.
They're coming in quick. Coming back around for another
Copy.
run.
Our primary target is those iron cannons.
More enemy craft.
Attack.
I got one.
Intercepting. I'm on.
I mean, the add Thrawn mini-mod wasn't actually something that I ever released.
Engines are gone, sir.
I don't even know if I finished that before we started working on
Get behind them.
like Thrawn's Revenge as a thing.
I have them now. I'm on them.
Yes, Commander.
Enemies in range. Target locked.
It was just a thing that I kind of wanted to see if I could do.
Coming around.
And there was another guy named Makati who wanted to
Navigating to
add in, like he was working separately on adding in all the other Grand Admirals.
fire at their
So I started talking to him, and then he started as a coder for Thrawn's Revenge, and Zur and Videotech were the other two guys that I started the mod with. So like after I posted that I was going to start the Thrawn mini mod, I started talking to Videotech, who, if you all know what Warlords is, the Warlords models had just been free released by Evil Jedi for Empire at War, and Videotech was asking me if I would convert all those models for him, and that's sort of how that started, which is kind of ironic considering we're the only mod that never really ended up using any Warlords models, except for like one or two in the early releases. We are one of the few Empire at War mods that just makes all of our own assets. But after that, we decided we wouldn't use any of those assets, we'd make our own, and we started talking about like expanding the mod, using the mod to expand the game into other time periods, and so we came up with the idea for like 3 separate mods, one during the Galactic Civil War, one during the post-Endor period, which is what Imperial Civil War came from, and Fall of the Republic. We just kept ballooning it out from there. Which ship would you like to see made into a Lego set? I don't know. I'm not super invested in seeing anything as a Lego set. But there was actually a guy, because there used to be those like community Lego creation site, like Lego Labs or something, and there was a guy who made the Ascendancy Star Destroyer and I think one other unit from Thrawn's Revenge into a Lego set, so that was cool. Favorite New Republic fighter? Yeah. E-Wings? I think I'm like the only person in the world that likes E-Wings though. Everyone else seems to hate them for some reason. They think they're ugly. Like ugly X-Wing imposters. But I like them, so...
Commander, they're hitting us. Where'd he go? I'm on them. Nowhere to run. Coming around.
I've got them in my sights.
Batters also to be half OP cap. I don't think the Batters are that overpowered. They're strong, but I've never felt that they were super OP. Because they're slightly smaller SSDs, they actually do function a lot better with just the
Attack formation.
like the pathfinding issues in the game, but that's kind of outside our control. How do you feel about other people using edited versions of your own models? We don't let anyone use them unless they specifically ask and we grant them permission to. In general, we don't, like, we give people most of what they ask for, but there's some stuff that we don't allow people to use. And typically we have to feel like the mod is doing something. If we're going to agree to let people use some of our stuff, we have to feel like the mod is doing something new or in some way interesting, because like 90% of Empire War mods are just compilations of other people's work. which like they grab every model they can find and they throw them in, which like honestly I'm not a huge fan of, and we're less willing to support that kind of thing. Like we're less willing to say you can use our models, because it's just like, what are you actually doing? You're just compiling stuff. And then there's some of those mods that'll set up like a Patreon account for their own mod, like for the mod itself, and they're not actually doing anything except for compiling models, which I always find kind of off-putting. So like if we feel like the models are something they're using to support them doing something better or different with gameplay, then we're usually fine with people using whatever, like as long as they ask first and give credit. But if it's just like, oh, I want to put in 6,000 models and I'm not actually changing how the game plays at all, then we're like, no. Already 73 mods to do that. Dreadnought shields not be immediately done. We've changed the damage multipliers to be a bit lower for proton torpedoes and stuff, compared to the demo. So the shields don't just immediately go down. You would have seen that in that battle. That's right there, actually, that the Executor's shields lasted a fair amount of time.
Assault tank reporting for duty.
Actually, we won't be able to beat the Duskin League in this playthrough, I don't think. I'm going to go for them last, because there were some changes made that I'm pretty sure if we tried to kill them right now, the game would crash. So I don't want to risk that, especially before we're... Well, just reload a save if it did happen. But I don't want to go through that hassle. So once we've killed off the Arado Authority, we'll give it a shot and see if it works. But if it crashes, I'm just going to say, like, we won. It's just ground stuff. Like, they're not actually... They wouldn't win if they tried to fight us. But we may have to end the campaign before we've actually killed them.
Tactical battle imminent.
Alright.
Weapons armed.
Am I a fan of Darth Crate? I've never really gotten into the Legacy era that much, so not especially.
Choose
but
your reinforcements.
We'll get there.
well, I guess we lost two of the Peltis too.
Moving out. Orders confirmed.
We've got him. Send reinforcements.
Reinforcements cancelled.
We'll get there.
Like, there's some cool ship designs from that era, but I wouldn't say I'm
Star Destroyer
particularly attached to any of the characters,
sequence engaged.
having never read the comics.
Orders.
I copy. Fire.
Ascendancy at the ready.
Ready for
One of the weirder things about that was just like so long after even the Purge,
Move out.
how many Jedi were still around from the
For coordinates.
from that period, the Clone Wars period.
Maximum unit capacity.
Reporting.
Production halted.
Open fire.
Right. We'll get the Peltis to
Star Destroyer.
start shredding the Praetor. We'll get the other ships to start
Mega Mazer.
going after their
squadron standing by.
carriers.
Changing course to
Let's go in.
acquiring target. Ready for battle. Advancing on
Star
target.
Destroyer standing
More
by.
planets you can capture ships from. Like the planet capture rewards.
Roger that.
We're working them in a few places, but
Attack.
we typically want to keep
After the strike.
factions using their own roster rather than mixing it too much.
Awaiting orders.
It's typically only if there's stuff that's
Awaiting your orders.
unique on those planets that makes sense to get from there that you wouldn't be able to get from other places. And there's not much of the galaxy that that would apply to.
Where'd he go?
Target locked.
Nowhere to run. Falling out of formation. Get behind them. Draw their fire.
Attack formation. Go after
Awaiting
the
your command. Fire at will.
Regroup for another attack.
I have them now.
Excellent shot.
Alright.
I'm on them.
Looks like the Praetor's going down pretty quickly.
Quick. More enemy.
Your command, sir.
Making a lot of progress on the little ships as well.
I got one.
We're going to need to drop in a lot of anti-fighter, but I don't want to...
Enemies incoming.
I think we should actually be pretty safe. The Praetor's not going to be able to take them all out.
Intercepting.
Fall out.
And after this, I think the Executor only has like 5 other ships with it in that other fleet, so we should be okay.
Your orders? Nowhere to run. I'm on them.
Our lasers are down.
Roger that.
Target locked. Eliminating target. Target locked.
Form up. Firing.
Excellent.
Direct fire on the
Isn't it Kreet's armor, isn't it? Like the Von Dune crap? I can't remember the exact spelling for it, but they use on Vong
target priority.
like warrior armor.
Getting a lock. Intercepting. Draw their fire. Attack formation.
Can you make stations use fleet supply PopCap?
Attacks.
I think so. But they also, on the galactic level, they give PopCap.
Formation.
Our launch bay is gone. Attack that target.
But I'm pretty sure you, if you wanted to, you could just give them the PopCap usage line, and that should work. I've never tried it, so I'm not 100% sure, but it would just be, if it would work, it would just be by putting in that one line, the population cap cost.
Where'd he go?
Choose your reinforcements.
Nowhere to run.
Moving out.
At maximum unit capacity.
Our primary engine system
We haven't used very many of the Naruto frigates. We'll just drop some in there. They probably need a couple buffs. Like, I still think the concept can work. They're just too weak for it to be worth it, as far as the actual numbers go.
Locking on.
Star Destroyer reporting in.
Coming back around for another run.
Getting a
Yes,
lock.
Commander.
Warm up.
Awaiting orders. Firing.
Right. That looks like that's going to take care of that
Intercepting. I'm on them.
Praetor.
In formation.
Awaiting your orders. Awaiting your command.
Let's try to keep this phalanx a little bit farther away from those,
Flank speed.
so it doesn't just die.
Eliminating target.
Roger that.
I've got them in my sights. Target locked. Coming back around for another
Your
run.
command, sir. Commander.
Getting a lock.
There we go.
Engaging the enemy.
Intercepting.
Reporting in.
I mean, besides Thrawn, even including Thrawn, it's probably Revan.
Form up.
Stay in formation.
I hadn't actually, when I started the mod, I don't think I'd read the Thrawn trilogy yet. So I don't know how much I actually knew about Thrawn when I started the mod.
Destroyer here. Our target priority is the laser cannons.
Mega Mazers Prime. Firing sequence engaged.
Copy.
The Guardian will be in the mod.
Got them on scope.
We'll be talking about the Era 5 GCs
The lasers.
in a couple of weeks,
Our target priority.
but the Guardian will be involved in the mod in some ways. Hey there, Chris. How's it going?
Fire. Reporting. Open fire.
Speaking of, I am going to be doing a video fairly soon on some of the Patreon reward updates,
Standing by.
because I'm trying to think of some new ones to do for that.
Ready to receive orders.
And there's a couple ideas I've had that I think would be cool to do. I still want to find some other ways to make
Star
becoming a patron a bit more rewarding than it is.
Behind them.
Yes, Commander.
Some extra...
Attack that target.
It's kind of difficult because I think the thing that most people would want would be mod related stuff, but
Awaiting.
if I did that, that's essentially like selling access to the mod, and that would be illegal, and it's not... I don't really want to... I wouldn't want to pay gate the mod in any way. The mod isn't in the channel are kind of separate, and if
Awaiting your
you,
command.
if you try to use
Attacking. Targeting.
mod stuff as a Patreon reward, then you're essentially charging for the mod, and then that's very much breaching copyright laws.
Firing. Engaging.
So I'm trying to think of other ways to do it that aren't like directly you get to play the mod.
The enemy has been defeated.
Alright, there's that. What we got here? So let's send these guys in. And...
Tactical battle imminent.
Right, so this is the second executor they had. I don't know if they'll be able to kill us more, but... Or not kill us more. Build any more. I don't know how many resources they actually have. I really wish we could add them to that the galactic graphs, like the number of planets they control, the credits they have, all that stuff. But unfortunately, you can't do that with any extra factions. It would be possible to have multiple allied factions on the galactic level. Unfortunately, the allied and neutral tags for Empire at War, they cause a lot of really weird unintended side effects. So it's typically a bad idea to try to use them.
Choose your reinforcements.
Orders confirmed. We'll get there. Location.
So let's try to group up some of our stuff up here.
Reinforcements cancelled.
Moving to coordinates.
We gotta be on alert for that raid fleet down here. Alright, so let's let them go in.
Reinforcements cancelled.
Location locked.
Setting course.
At maximum unit capacity. Production halted.
Like, yeah, you can sort of do that, but like, you'd never be able to have a battle where, like, you're going in to help your allies. It would just be a thing where you don't fight each other on the galactic level. And then if there are multiple allied units in the same place when a battle starts, it doesn't then start with, like, you defending against the attack together. That's where the game starts to become glitchy.
I copy. Targeting the laser systems. Fire. Open fire.
Let's go
Reporting.
start getting ready here.
Instructions received.
So, like, stuff like raid fleets is basically the closest we're going to be able to get to anything like that.
I got one. I'm on them.
Reporting in.
Coming around.
This is a kind of inconvenient position.
Enemies in range.
We really want to take advantage of that, but
Getting a lot.
we're going to come across them directly. They do have their fighters going directly for the Executor, so
Yes, sir.
let's get our bombers in there.
Yes, Commander. Ready.
We'll make sure that we're killing the Aridu's fighters.
TIE squadron here. Attack that target. I'm on them.
Coming around.
I've got them in my sights.
Roger that.
Coming back around for another run.
Getting a lock. Target locked.
Engines activated.
Form up.
Intercepting.
Direct fire on the engines.
Stay in formation.
Destroyer here. Open fire.
Well, you can't really force them to stay separate is part of the problem. Like, you can try to gimmick some stuff in, but you have to be controlling their actions pretty closely through the scripting.
TIEs reporting.
Like, yes, theoretically, you can have stuff be allied on the galactic map, so factions that don't fight each other.
They're coming in quick.
Your least favorite Star Wars character? I mean, yeah, Jar Jar would be up there.
Orders, sir.
I don't know. I guess it would have to be a character that
Command, sir.
I actively dislike instead of just someone like Jar Jar who I don't care about.
Attacking target.
I have them now. I'm on.
But I don't know.
Coming around.
I've got them in my sights.
Taking fire.
Sir, I've detected.
I was never a big fan of Starkiller from The Force Unleashed.
Star Destroyer standing by.
Like the Gary Stu of Star Wars. Crap.
Ready go.
These Peltas keep going in very inconvenient places.
Getting a lock. Falling out of formation.
Star Destroyer reporting in.
It looks like we're pretty close to being done with this Executor.
Standing by.
And I think those,
Attack formation.
Locking on. I'm on them.
Go after them.
the
Ready for battle.
most of the Aridu Authority fleets are now done.
Fire at will.
They didn't have, like, we killed like 3 pretty big fleets in the last 3 planets.
Formation. Get behind them.
Yes,
Enemies in
Commander.
range. I have them now. Taking fire.
Like, Bane was recently doing, I don't know if he's done yet. I don't know, I don't think he's done yet, but
Eliminating target.
Bane on GB Gaming has been doing a Force Unleashed playthrough. I don't know if he's going to do the second one after that, but I'm always bad for starting games and not finishing them, but it's rarely me thinking like I'm done playing the game. It's just like I'll fall off playing it. But the Force Unleashed 2 is one of the few games where I started playing it and I was like, I just can't do it. That game is one big quick time event.
Locked. Eliminating target.
Awaiting orders.
I wish this ISD would come up there with this one. But at least they look like they're going to get a lot of damage done on those guys, so
Go after the stragglers.
Awaiting your orders.
I'm not going to complain.
Intercepting.
Excellent shot.
Yeah, I think like calling Starkiller a character is giving him too much credit.
Form up. Attacking. Nathan, quick. I'm losing.
I'm on them. Stay in.
I honestly, the Thrawn character from the Thrawn trilogy, I don't love that much. He was too omniscient, but in the new Thrawn book and in some of the later stuff and pretty much anything after the original Thrawn trilogy, he became a lot more reasonable. So like Outbound Flight is one of my favorite Star Wars books just because like Thrawn was a much better character in that, and like George Cardass, not Carbass, and everything like that. Everything in there, like Outbound Flight probably is my favorite Star Wars book.
Fire at will.
Where'd he go? Nowhere to run.
Like just how much it sets up for the whole universe.
We've got him on the run.
Oh god, Rosh was awful.
Draw their fire. Enemies in range.
Come on.
I always notice that voice actor and stuff now. Rosh is. Zan's not my least favorite character. He's too much fun.
Underway.
Yeah, that's exactly why, Ordo. The whole art thing, it just needs to stop. Alright, so we'll get Yagdal. Yagi Dahul. Only got 3 slots here, so that's pretty easy. Oh, is this a solid? No.
Invasion commencing.
My parents abandoned me when I joined the Empire, and now I'm sad, so I'm gonna start a crime business.
Choose your reinforcements.
Here I do stuff for me because I'm an idiot. That's basically the plot of Forces of Corruption.
Moving out.
There we go.
Unit capacity. Production halted.
Okay, so let's get our soldiers. We'll get a sensor array over here.
Form up. Squad, advance. Move out.
If I were to do a playthrough of like the Force Unleashed or something, I think I'd do that as
Sensor number
just a live stream game.
Roger.
Kind of like I did with the later half of Republic Commando.
construction complete.
Ooh,
Standing by. Right away.
you guys come up here.
Ground targets locked.
Oh, yeah, they only had the barracks and the turbo lasers, right?
Destroyed.
Initiating sweep.
Unit destroyed.
Getting out. Weapons online.
There we go.
All out.
So this should be a fairly easy battle. I don't even think they have any other units garrisoned here.
Reinforcements.
Adjusting Navicomputer.
We've secured a build pad.
Unit
Awaiting orders.
destroyed.
What killed that?
Lost
Kyle.
build pad.
Affirmative.
Kyle's good.
Target confirmed.
It was always kind of weird when he'd show up in books after playing Jedi Outcast and stuff.
Commencing attack. Awaiting orders.
I think I got stuck playing Jedi Outcast, so I haven't finished the main Jedi Outcast plot either.
Fall out, troops.
So I was a kid when I tried to play it, and
Let's go.
see you, Mike.
Keep
Thanks for
going.
coming.
This way. Ready for attack.
So I definitely want to do that at some point too.
Reporting.
Like Jedi Academy, I've played through multiple times, but
Target.
I don't think I ever managed to finish Jedi Outcast.
Moving into position.
Did Jedi Outcast come out? No, it did. It came out before Jedi Academy.
Right away, sir. Underway. Almost there. I
copy. Attack that target.
Choose your reinforcements.
Where's our RFTs?
At maximum unit capacity. Production halted. Bombing run.
I think it's just these little infantry guys left.
Attacking target. Right away.
We are victorious.
Yeah, that was my problem with Outcast. I think the last thing I remember doing
Constructing.
in Jedi Outcast before I stopped playing it initially, there was some sort of elevator shaft I was in, and I think it was before I was a Jedi. So I couldn't figure out what I was doing. So I think
Battle imminent.
I think I traded in my copy of Jedi Outcast for Jedi Academy. So I never was able to actually go back and revisit it.
Ready to receive orders. We'll get there.
So we lost our Pathfinder unit, so I'll have to reset one of those.
Come across enemy units.
Orders confirmed.
Let's go down to their fleet. So I'll have to reset the AI behaviors for when they have
We'll get there.
Attack formation.
when they have
I copy.
defensive structures. Because right now we've mostly just stripped out the stuff and we haven't replaced it with anything
Stay in formation.
to replace their behavior of just guarding the stations like idiots. But still better than what it was.
Target locked. Eliminating target.
Roger that.
I remember liking
Excellent shot.
the multiplayer in Jedi Outcast a bit better than
Group for a
Jedi Academy.
I got one. I've got them in my sights. They're coming in quick. More enemy craft.
Form up. Attacking.
Coming back around.
Because I think you could only have a single-bladed lightsaber, but I like the guns a bit better.
For the
And
Destroy
the actual lightsaber combat was a bit more fun from what I remember.
Lasers are our target.
Or it might have been just because
Get behind us.
there weren't so many types it seemed a bit better, but
I have them.
I just remember having more fun with it.
Copy. Opening fire.
I used to play it a lot with my friend,
Yes, sir.
Eliminating
like grade
target.
4.
I'm on them. Coming around.
I've got them in my sights. Target locked.
Ready to
Coming
receive
back
orders.
around for another run.
Ascendancy at the ready.
Getting a
Mega
lock.
mazes.
Intercepting. Falling out of
Reporting.
formation.
Fallout.
Excellent shot.
Draw their fire.
Attack formation.
Coming about.
Go after the
Alright,
stragglers.
Star Destroyer
we're
standing by.
Regroup
dealing with
for another
this.
attack.
Star Destroyer reporting in. Firing.
Locking on.
Our target
Enemies in
priority
range.
is the laser cannons.
Losing.
Stay in formation.
Attack!
We're mostly good here. Still the station to deal with.
I got
Taking fire. Get behind them.
I've detected.
Commander, they're hitting us.
And let's go just pop that open.
I have them now.
Any chance you're going to use the darker, more metallic Rebel Commando skin for B1 droids? No, we're probably just going to stick with the movie ones for that, just because
Yes.
the movies do take precedence there, and they're a lot more recognizable that way.
Draw their fire.
Unless we make it something that switches between eras, like starting off with the Trade Federation ones and then progressing a bit, but I think we are more likely to just stick with the standard movie versions of the skins at least. I'd be more inclined to use the Republic Commando voice style for a lot of the droids
The lasers are our
compared to the movies in the Clone Wars cartoon.
We've got them on scopes. Initiating.
But visually, we'll usually go with stuff in the movies. That would take precedence.
Behind them.
Fire! Open fire! Attack that target.
Commander,
We're in attack position.
I have them now.
Commander.
Where'd he go? I'm on them. Nowhere
Reporting
to
in.
run.
Let's move out. Roger that.
Falling out of formation. Coming around.
I've got them in my sights.
Okay.
Locking on. Draw their fire.
Target those lasers. Let's go. Take out the iron.
There's that.
Keep going.
Still these little guys there. I think that's it. The 3 little frigates. Oh, 4.
Formation. Changing course to intercept.
Destroyer here.
Yeah, the voices we'd be more
The laser cannons.
inclined to go with the Republic Commando style.
The lasers are our target.
Detected.
Or at least
I copy.
the parts of the movies and cartoon where they didn't seem as brain damaged.
Regroup for another attack.
They're falling back.
We're on our way. Target sighted. Reporting.
Enemies in range.
Like, we don't want the CIS to just be comic relief. Most interesting character in the Star Wars universe? Like, I guess you can see like Talon Card or George Cardes doing the Dos Equis commercial.
Right away, sir.
Did I not actually take Typhera? Oh my god. We'll have to circle back and take Typhera. We never did the ground invasion there. But we're starting to get to the actual Arido Authority territory too.
Invasion commencing.
Copy.
Choose your reinforcements.
full speed now.
Alright, let's this is a bigger map, and there's usually like a pretty big kill zone here and here if you try to go in, and even there. So I think what we're gonna do is start with the airstrikers. We're gonna go through, do a quick run with the fighters, and we're also gonna try to take
Moving to that area.
one of the landing zones closer to the
Ready to go.
closer to the
Let's move
base.
out. Let's go.
We're actually getting a lot farther in this than I thought we would. I don't think we'll be able to
This way.
They're over here.
end the campaign before this. Oh,
Destroyed.
Over there.
that's what I wanted to avoid.
Unit destroyed.
Executing flyby.
Reporting.
Choose your
Yeah, I caught a bit of it. It wasn't... I don't think there was ever a point in my area where it was a total eclipse.
Copy. En route. I've got a
This is what I was looking for. God, that's really depressing.
Choose your reinforcements.
Ready for orders.
Yep, I remember you, Port Pop. Were you ever able to sort out your issues with the installation?
Roger that. Moving to coordinates.
Alright, let's get some artillery here.
Adjusting
Some MMTs. Let's get some anti-infantry.
Adjusting navicomputer.
Hey there, class.
Choose your reinforcements.
Welcome back.
Form up.
Hopefully you won't be too tired tomorrow.
Awaiting orders.
What you might want to do, Port Pop, is post on our actual forums. It'll be a bit easier to help you there.
Roger that. Right away. Moving out.
Right, so let's actually wait for a bombing run.
All out.
It's so hard to break into this part of the base.
Fire. Let's go. Keep going.
I don't want to waste them on that.
Open fire.
Bomber squadron reporting.
This way.
Hopefully we can hit 2 parts of the base with this.
Almost there.
Hello, John.
Attack that target. Attacking target.
on target.
Destroyed. Unit
Ooh,
destroyed.
they've got some AA.
Unit destroyed.
Alright, well I think that's
Moving.
good enough for our airstrikers.
Executing flyby.
Course plotted. Adjusting navicomputer. Order acknowledged. Heading out. Ready.
Let's deploy that. We'll see if we can get in a little bit better with our vehicles now.
I copy.
Once we get that that AA turret destroyed,
T4P.
well, I'm glad you enjoy them. Hopefully we'll be able to get your issues sorted out.
Entering battle.
Should be able to. I'm sure it's just stuff being in. Just gotta get the folders right. The AT-AT is blocking our fire, or the turbo laser blocking our fire on the AT-AT. There we go. Let's try to move in a bit more.
Acknowledge.
Unit destroyed.
Over there.
Okay, let's get that turret.
Reporting. Copy. Fire at will. T4B mobile.
Artillery online. Firing at will.
We'll get this in place to get deployed.
Target. Form up. Yes, sir. En route. Moving.
And now we can use orbital bombardment on this half of the base.
Attacking. Targeting. Awaiting order. Yes, Commander.
Ah,
Roger that.
that's bright.
Firing.
I actually don't know the answer to this. Why were Imperial officers so bigoted against other species? They tended to be from like richer human-only worlds, and that's just how a lot of prejudice happens. They see aliens as worse than them in some way.
Under construction.
Non-humans were inferior. And then yeah, the Clone Wars didn't help. There was some core versus periphery stuff going on there. Well, welcome there, James. I do a lot of Empire at War stuff. Basically anything that we do mods for, I do videos, a lot of preview videos of Thrawn's Revenge stuff, so whether that's for Ascendancy for Sins or Empire at War, I cover a lot of Empire at War mods other than Thrawn's Revenge, as well as a lot of Sins mods and Star Wars stuff in general, anything sci-fi really, or even just games that I like playing, like I do some City Skylines occasionally, really just anything I'm interested in at the time, but biggest emphasis is on mods or modding. The website is thronsrevenge.com, Port Pop. If you look in the description, there should be a link in there. We got another...
Copy. Keep going. This way. Over there.
Another raid fleet coming in.
Your reinforcements.
Sir, our sensors
Enemy
are down to
forces
this
ahead.
nebula.
We'll get there.
Order confirmed. Coming around. Heading to destination.
Location
We
locked.
can completely encircle them like
Moving
this.
out. Move out.
But I guess a lot of content fairly similar to what Shaq does in that case.
Star Destroyer standing by.
Similar types, only I tend to approach it more from development perspective than
Star Destroyer.
Stay in formation.
Yes,
Get
Commander.
behind them.
Awaiting
Eliminating
orders.
target.
I guess the role. I don't know how to describe the other
Have them now.
in the role play.
Enemy craft.
Narrative focused.
Yes, Commander. Acquiring target.
Commander,
No, if you click on more,
Advancing on
it should bring you down. It should show the link to the forums. Just thronsrevenge.com, all one word.
my sights.
where'd he go? Nowhere to run. Falling out of formation.
Draw their fire. Attack formation. Go after the stragglers. Regroup for another attack.
There's also a Thrawn's Revenge section on the Discord, so if you do want to just try it in there or the tech support part of the Discord, then that would work too. But pretty much anything would be better than the YouTube comments for organizing it and trying to help you.
Awaiting your orders.
Locking on. Taking fire.
Just because YouTube isn't always the best at notifying me about replies to comments.
Awaiting your
That's one of the things that I wish they'd update a little bit better.
Target locked.
Commander.
Hitting us.
Because like showing actual new comments, great, but showing
Reporting.
when stuff gets replied to,
Roger.
YouTube isn't the best for that.
Attack that target.
Where'd he go? Nowhere to
Run.
Falling out of formation. Stay in formation.
Excellent shot.
Get behind them. Draw their fire. I have them
Over there.
now.
Form up.
I got
Attacking
one.
target.
I'm on them.
Oh, there's the raid fleet. Does have an ISD-2 in it.
Here.
Go after
So we'll have to flip around and deal with that,
another attack.
which is in raid fleet.
Copy.
It's got some TIE Raptors.
Enemy craft.
Taking fire. Commander, they're hitting us. Where'd he go?
I'm losing.
Nowhere. Got him on the run! Locking on. Coming around.
I've got them in my sights. Coming back around for another run.
A lot of the raiders got away there. So we'll deal with all their stuff here. Where did I build all those other ground units?
Complete.
I could have swore that I was building some airstrikers.
Vehicle in production.
And let's get a couple more... let's get some Kairovs, just in case there's some
Vehicle in production.
IDTs that we need to deal with. What are you doing? They have more space stuff
Tactical
back together.
battle imminent.
Ooh. Even more carriers.
Reporting for duty.
Favorite species? I've always liked Rhodians for some reason.
Invasion commencing.
Would you have an Executor's thing for the Empire of the Hand? I think they're a bit underpowered. Well, I disagree that they're underpowered. The Empire of the Hand typically has better units than the other factions, though they can field fewer of them.
Yes, Commander.
And
Your reinforcements.
honestly, if you need an SSD to balance out a faction, then it's...
Let's go.
Like, SSDs aren't proportionally better than other ships. Like, you're not getting more out of them than if you were to put the same resources in toward other stuff. But it's also against the faction philosophy.
Reporting in. Moving out.
Reporting. Let's move out.
Standing by. Heading out.
Suppressive fire. Awaiting orders.
We've secured a landing zone.
Let's go.
What's that?
Ready to
All right.
go. Ball out.
Let's go up. We'll grab...
Ready.
I very rarely see this map. I think we need to use it in a few more places. But I think that's also because it does have the Duro as
We've secured a landing zone.
spawning units.
Roger that.
But we could just make one version without the Duro on it.
I copy, sir.
Yeah, Thrawn was not a fan of
The position.
super ships. And it doesn't really cover what the Empire of the Hand needed them for. Or would have needed out of ships.
Form up. Keep going. This way.
Because having one giant ship that can only be in one place is less useful for them
Your reinforcements.
as a faction that had slightly more limited resources but a huge amount of territory than a larger force of smaller ships. Well, thanks, Warpop. Glad you enjoy the content. Hopefully we'll be able to solve your installation issues too.
I copy. Over there. Scouting location. Ground target locked. Ready.
Oh, they're being mean to the Duro.
Executing flyby. Initiating sweep. Copy. Weapons online.
Bombing run available.
Ready for orders.
En route.
Almost there.
Reporting. Moving to coordinates.
Proceeding.
What did the Duros ever do to them?
Computers locked on
Yes,
target.
sir.
I don't even remember who made this map.
Attack.
It must have been Kwai.
Reporting in. All right, men. Take cover. I copy. Right
We
away.
secured a building.
Because he did a lot of ramp stuff. Yeah, this had to have been either me or Kwai Zero Jin.
Underway. Almost there. Moving out. Attacking target. Firing acknowledged.
Yeah, this seems like the kind of thing, this ramp here, that he would have done.
Attacking. Moving out. Targeting. Right away.
We lost a bit of head. We are victorious.
There we go. We haven't determined whether or not we're going to make the corporate sector an entirely standalone playable faction yet.
System control achieved.
There's a couple options we have for the next release. They're on the list to do eventually, but as far as what we actually get to, it's always hard to say.
Orders confirmed.
Tactical battle imminent.
All right.
I copy.
So it's just like Kashyyyk, and then we got to get Typhera as well. But then we'll be...
Heading out. Command received.
The only stuff they'll have left are the initial places that the Arado Authority spawns. So we're
We shall be there shortly.
really coming in at the end of the playthrough here.
Reinforcements cancelled.
Right away. Moving out.
Falling out of formation.
Ready. All fighters, attack.
I
Getting a
copy.
lock. Enemies in range. Target locked. Draw their fire. Eliminating target.
There are a few clones left, but most of them were dead. Like it turned into a kind of subplot in the Legacy of the Force books, I think it was.
Stay in formation. Get behind.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Legacy of the Force and not Fate of the Jedi, where there were some of the clones that were trying to get cured.
Commander, they're hitting us. Where'd he go?
There was at least one left, wasn't there? I don't remember. It was so long ago that I read that.
Enemies in range. Draw their fire.
But they weren't really active parts of the galaxy.
Awaiting orders.
Attack formation.
I have them now. I'm on them. Target locked. Eliminating target.
Go after the stragglers.
Well, the Duskin League doesn't really have limited units. The thing with the Duskin League is most of the stuff they had was Imperial, so they don't really have many options for their own unique stuff. We would like to make more types of thrust ship for them, and like, they're playable in more GCs now. They're in they've been expanded a lot in 2.2, but like the Hapes, we'd be developing a whole new roster for them, like fleshing out that a lot for them, similar to what we've done with the Empire of the Hand. We haven't determined anything about what specific GCs we'd be setting up for them. We'd probably be remaking into the cluster and making them playable in the Hunt for Zinj GC. But other than that, they'd be like a normal faction. They'd be playable in Art of War and all that stuff.
They're coming in quick. Sir, I've detected more enemy craft.
Taking fire. Commander, they're hitting us. Where'd he go?
Yeah, it would like we plan on doing the Hapens as a faction ascendancy, so we need to do like a fully fleshed out roster for them.
Nowhere to
Typically, the way that works, what we'd aim for any faction like that, is
Our target priority.
6 frigates, 4 or 5 cruisers, 5 capital ships, and 1 super Star Destroyer style thing. Except for the Empire of the Hand, which will remain as like the unique
Order confirmed.
no SSD unit. But that won't be a 2.2 thing. It won't be until 1.2 for Ascendancy. So we'll start doing news posts about that and talk more about that in a bit once we started actual production on them.
They're falling back.
Well, the Empire is playable in 2.1 still. The latest release, like the demo, is still the latest release for ICW, and the Remnant is not playable in that.
Retreat aborted. Right away.
Construction complete. Invasion
I mean,
commencing.
Hapes is obviously the superior consortium. they're not as whiny.
Roger that.
Choose your reinforcements.
This way.
Adjusting navicomputer.
Ape just has such a cool design aesthetic.
Over there.
Maximum unit capacity. Production
Form up.
halted.
Keep going. This way. Over there.
Yeah, Boba is still alive.
Moving out. Advancing. Squad, move out. Right away, sir.
Yes, Commander. Roger that.
Awaiting orders. Spread out, man. Approaching. Squad, advance. Move out.
Ready. I've got a lot.
Okay, that is a lot of saber tanks.
Fire.
Affirmative.
Open fire. Attack that target.
Copy.
Yes, sir. Entering battle. Yes, Commander. Engaging target.
So now if you go to the forums page,
Heading assault.
Port Pop, there will be a tech support section for Imperial Civil War, and you can just post there, and
Standing by.
we'll be able to help you in that.
Right away.
All weapons loaded.
Commander, moving out. Ready, sir.
Unit destroyed.
Attacking target.
T4P ready.
Ready for orders. Fire at will.
Give me the target.
Roger that.
Unit
Tank brigade.
destroyed.
Ready for attack. Target locked.
Okay, there we go. They don't appear to have turbo laser towers.
Copy. Heading up, sir.
Choose your reinforcements.
We don't appear to have
Adjusting
many of our
capacity.
units left.
Production halted.
Warm up. Heading out. Waiting orders. Copy. Fall out.
Kill the actual
Let's move
unit.
out. Let's go. Keep going.
And
Attacking. I copy.
Unit
Targeting.
destroyed.
there we go.
Unit destroyed. Unit destroyed.
I am all of those things, Nancy.
Roger.
I think the plan for the Empire of the Hand when we redo the ground stuff is to
Open fire.
primarily go with hover tanks for them.
Let's move out. Let's go.
We'll leave a lot of the track stuff to the New Republic, and then the Empire has walkers.
Destroyed.
So there's really not a set of vehicles in the mod right now that's primarily hover tanks,
Target.
and that'd probably be a good place for the Empire of the Hand.
Entering battlefield.
Unit destroyed.
Choose your reinforcements.
Cantor's unit.
Like, they're gonna have a smaller vehicle roster than the New Republic or the Empire of the Hand, or than the New Republic or the Remnant. Probably a similar size to what they have now, with maybe one or two extra types.
Copy, sir. Keep
Uh,
going. I copy. Reporting. This way.
Reporting.
But
Yes, sir.
yeah, they'd likely be
This way. Firing.
going the hover tank route mostly.
Unit destroyed.
Over there.
Don't go in front of it. Don't go in front of it. Just turn around here.
Ground target.
Now come around. Just come around this way. No, 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 no.
En route.
This way. Now come around. There you go.
Moving to coordinates. Initiating sweep.
Yes, sir. Over there.
But yeah, so I'm the design lead. Like, I'm the team leader, the
T mobile.
lead designer, and I also do
Moving into position.
a lot of the programming or art assets as well. Like, I'm involved in pretty much every aspect of it.
Reinforcements cancelled.
Almost there.
Yes, Commander. Roger that.
Yes, Commander. Ready. Heading out. Bombers at the ready.
Ready. Reporting in. Right away.
Nope,
Moving
no, no, no,
to
it can see you.
online. Heading
Don't
out.
let it see you. There we go.
Fall out. Let's move out.
Considering we haven't started directly working on Fall of the Republic yet, it is way too early for us to have any idea what we'd be looking at in terms of release date.
Scouting location. Attack.
All weapons loaded. T4B ready.
Give me a target.
Standing by.
Tank brigade here. Spearheading
Ready
assault.
to go.
Copy.
Like once 2.2 is done,
Available.
then we'll start putting together the first Fall of the Republic build.
System conquered.
T2B over.
Beginning construction.
Location locked. Heading up.
Underway.
Construction complete.
Moving to coordinates.
Alright.
Tactical battle imminent.
Still gotta get Kashyyyk. I guess we'd have to take Kashyyyk, Sejansis, Bimisari, and then come in through Utapau or something.
Right away, sir.
But yeah, once 2.2 is released, then we'll start planning out 2.3 and working on Fall of the Republic. We still haven't determined what we'd put in like the first version of Fall of the Republic and what we'd save for like a second build.
Choose your
But
reinforcements.
because we want to do the core rosters for the Republic and the CIS, it won't be the full fleshed out rosters for both factions yet. And then we'd save, like we'd flesh them out in the following release.
Production halted.
Let's actually grab this and build
Roger that.
some sort of
Reporting.
sensor node.
Secured a build pad. Sensor node constructing.
Commander, executing flyby.
Advancing.
Copy. En
Squad,
route.
move out.
Copy. Ready, sir.
Construction complete.
Form up.
Ready for orders. Fire.
There we go.
To coordinates. Roger that.
Covering fire.
Let's head over, we'll take this one out first, and then we'll kill all that stuff.
Roger that. Open fire.
Target confirmed.
Oh, glad you're enjoying it, thanks, Gobble.
Attack that target.
Advance.
Attacking target. Fire at will. Attacking.
There they are.
There's the first one.
Form up.
Well, Thrawn's Revenge, we started it in 2006.
Targeting.
So, in the first full release, like the first version 1.0 of Imperial Civil War, was released in 2010. So, yeah, we've been around for a while. Oh, well, there was a mini-mod that we did in 2007 for Fall of the Republic. But after that, we canceled it. We stopped after doing the mini-mod. And then it's just that we revived it now. Because, yeah, technically Fall of the Republic started before Republic at War was ever announced.
Waiting orders. Copy.
Would it be logical if you could build Thrawn clones if you could have Thrawn on the ground and near to one, or if I'm wrong with it? We do have the Thrawn clone as a story event. It spawns in about 10 minutes into Era 5 for Empire of the Hand side of things. We wouldn't make it like a unit, just a hero you can build repeatedly, but we do have it as a character that can spawn if you control Nero for long enough.
Right away, sir.
I'm not too bad, thanks. I'm starting to get a bit of a sore throat.
Attack that target.
The enemy has been defeated.
How are you doing?
System conquered. Construction complete.
Alright, so let's actually grab these guys out of here.
Construction.
T2B over.
Construction complete.
Yeah, NK Necrosis. That's one of the weirder
Adjusting now.
parts of canon, too. So what do we have left? Kashyyyk.
Construction complete.
There's, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 planets left. So I think what we'll probably end up doing for today
Complete. Tactical battle.
is I will just finish taking out this stuff in this line here. We'll aim to stop at around the 3-hour mark. Maybe a bit before.
Reporting.
Choose your reinforcements.
We'll get there. Location locked. Heading out. Orders confirmed.
Heading out.
Right away.
Fallout.
Enemy unit sighted.
Let's move
And then we'll
out.
probably have an hour episode on Wednesday. And I think that'll be the end of the playthrough.
Position.
At maximum unit capacity. Production halted.
Getting a lock.
Orders, sir. Targeting the laser.
Actually, I did buy
Reporting.
1 or 2 of the X-Wing games during the Steam Summer Sale, or if not then when they did that big Star Wars sale.
Ready for command.
But it turned out you need a joystick for it, so I don't know if I'll be able to do that, because I did want to do a playthrough of it, but
We've got them on scopes.
I don't have a joystick and I don't have the money to buy one at the moment.
Star Destroyer reporting in.
Target locked.
Ready for battle.
Mosquitoes are no fun. They were pretty bad here at the start of the summer, but they've
Awaiting orders.
calmed down a bit,
Fire.
seems like.
Commander, they're hitting us. Where'd he go?
Awaiting your orders.
Nowhere to run.
Awaiting your command.
I guess that's one of the better points of most of Canada, that it's only warm enough for mosquitoes to be
Torpedo launchers must be destroyed.
jerks a small portion of the year.
Go after the stragglers. Regroup for another attack. Victim, quick.
Commander.
Craft.
Attack commencing.
Taking
Heading to
fire.
destination.
Commander, they're hitting us.
I've got them in my sights. Coming back around for another run.
Getting a lock. Intercepting. Where'd he go? I'm on them.
Oh, now we're all the way on the wrong side of the map.
Get behind them.
Gotta send these guys all the way up there.
Falling out of formation. I have them now. I'm on them. Locking on. Enemies in range. Target locked. Coming around. Draw their fire.
I've got them in my sights.
Eliminating target.
Target locked. Coming back around for another run. Attack formation. Go after the stragglers. Regroup for another attack.
Getting a lock.
Go to the tech support section for Imperial Civil War Port Pop
I'm on them.
and post a new topic
Stay
there.
in formation.
More enemy craft.
Oh, I'll look into that thing, Garkon.
Get behind them.
Location plotted. I got one.
I have
Welcome, Josh.
At the ready. Firing sequence engaged. Star Destroyer plans open. Ready to
Wasn't really a planned stream. Just had some free time and
Fire at will.
Star Destroyer plans open. We'll get there. Mega masers primed. Location
I'm
locked.
on
Heading
them.
out. Ready to receive orders. Ascendancy at the ready. Firing sequence
Coming
engaged.
around.
I've got them in my sights.
Roger that.
alright.
Attack.
Let's
Coming back around for another run.
Getting a lock.
focus down these guys. And we'll be on our way on to whatever that other planet is
Mega masers.
attached to POW.
Star Destroyer plans open. Ready to receive orders.
Roger that.
Destroyer here.
Right. I would like to do another stream this week if I can, with a community game for Ascendancy, since we did just have that release. But I'll have to figure out a day that that'll work for.
Orders confirmed. Ready to receive orders.
Copy. Open fire.
Probably at some point on the weekend.
Attack that target.
It's my mom's chemo on week, so I'll be here
Attacking target.
pretty much all weekend.
Fire at will.
That should probably work out.
Warm up. Fire.
I copy. We're moving out.
Oh, we got one TIE bomber.
I'm on them. Stay in formation. Get behind.
I really like the new curse assist too.
We are victorious.
Alright, so I guess we'll take Kashyyyk, then Sijansij. We'll get rid of the enemy space forces there.
Building under construction. Beginning
Construction
construction.
complete.
I guess we'll have to go fight whatever they're going to send here.
Construction complete.
What do they even have in their fleet? Is it going to be a lot of carriers? Yeah, figures. Alright, so let's just take Kashyyyk. Well, I guess we may as well, we'll leave these guys here for now, because they're not going to be able to do anything. We'll just go from Danan into their actual territory.
Order acknowledged.
Choose your
I would like to be done in 1 or 2 more episodes for this playthrough. It went a lot longer than I thought it would. It's still not the longest Empire that War playthrough we've had either, but it's close.
sensor node constructing.
I think technically the longest playthrough I've ever done on the channel was actually
Construction complete.
a Pokemon one. Alright, well thanks for coming, Garkon. See you later. Have a good night.
Give me a target. Tank brigade here. Copy. Fire.
Oh crap.
Destroyed.
I don't think we've seen any, at least we haven't seen many TIE crawlers in this playthrough yet.
Unit destroyed.
Attacking target.
Choose your reinforcements.
Okay, let's grab more MMTs.
At maximum unit capacity.
Form up.
Production halted.
Unit destroyed.
This is now our
Fire at will.
halfway through the 3rd hour.
I copy, sir.
Jeez, that is...
I copy. Reporting. Attacking.
Well, they've still got 4 AT-ATs, but we've got 3 MMTs, and the Phalanx Troopers are gonna tank them for us.
Yes, sir. Entering battle.
Unit
Engaging target.
destroyed.
Fire at will.
Keep going.
There we go.
This way. Over there.
Move out.
Unit
The enemy has been
destroyed.
defeated.
I definitely won't go more than half an hour longer.
Control achieved.
Building started.
Beginning
Building
construction.
under construction.
I think my parents just got back from the hospital, so I'll want to pop out and see how it went.
We'll get there.
Alright, let's head over to Denon. Before these ground units get in, we'll take out that
Construction complete.
carrier force.
Construction complete.
Getting a ton of subscribers over from Jack's channel too.
Yes, Commander.
Choose your reinforcements.
Moving to coordinates. Order confirmed.
Me and him were talking about
Setting course.
doing some more Sin streams with like me, Shaq, Gulp, Bane, and I think Wasted Space.
Full speed.
So that'll be fun if we're able to organize that.
Location locked. Heading out.
If we're ever able to get everyone together for that.
Fall out. Let's move out. Heading out. Command received. Let's go.
I'm on them.
Navigating to coordinates.
Target locked. Coming around.
Copy. I've got
We had some pretty big battles earlier on in the stream too.
Eliminating target.
coming back around for another run.
So definitely worth going back and checking out
Target locked.
those parts.
Getting a
Ready. Attacking.
Excellent shot. I got one.
Attack.
Awaiting
Locking on.
orders.
Stay in formation. Get behind them. I have them now. Enemies in range. Target locked.
Our
I'm on
primary target is those
Coming
iron
around.
cannons.
Eliminating target.
I've got them in my sights.
So many carriers.
Coming back around for another run.
Getting a
Okay,
lock.
let's grab all our bombers and we'll just send them straight into the back.
They're hitting us. Where'd he go?
Yeah, that was definitely the highlight, the selection freeze bug.
Copy.
That was a good 10 minutes.
Reporting. Target locked. Yes, sir.
Nowhere to
I'll have to remember to pin some sort of comments
Attacking.
on the video with the timestamp to get past that, or get through that.
The shields on holding.
I'm on them. I got one.
Awaiting your command.
Coming around.
Okay, we really need to kill these raiders.
Draw their
They've taken out our launch bay.
enemies in range.
Fire.
Target locked.
Let's grab some carry X in this area.
Eliminating target.
And I guess a peltist.
Unit capacity. Production halted.
The stragglers. Coming back around for another run. Getting a lock.
What I'd like to get into doing is
Regroup for another attack.
maybe for the premieres, make series start off with like an hour stream, like a 45-minute stream maybe, and then try to do like finales or penultimate episodes as streams as well, at least for Empire at War playthroughs.
Commander. Right away.
I'm trying to think of ways to get into more consistent streaming, because usually by this point in the series the people who are going to watch are already into it, so doing it as a stream isn't the worst thing in the world.
Standing by. Affirmative. Roger that. Form up. The lasers have been destroyed.
Choose your reinforcements.
Intercepting.
Alright, let's drop in another Ascendancy. We're going to want to get as many
Choose your
carrier types as we can.
Destroyer here. Targeting.
I'm on them. I'm losing.
Enemies in range.
Excellent shot. I got one.
But
Copy that.
Formation.
some of our anti-fighters survived.
Star cruiser here. Enemies incoming. Copy. The lasers are our target.
Commander, they're hitting us.
I probably should have started grabbing some interdictors.
Target locked. Coming around. I've got them in my sights. Where'd he go? Coming back around for another run. Eliminating target. Target locked.
Yeah, the demo,
Excellent shot.
the demo, you were able to go much longer than 2.1 without getting a selection freeze, and then even since the demo, I think it's the changes we've made.
Formation. Draw their fire.
For example, in a 2.1 playthrough where you'd get the
Target locked.
freeze at 150 weeks, if you had the equivalent playthrough happening in 2.2, you could probably get to week
I got one. Target.
500 without getting it, 400
Range.
with an equivalent playthrough.
Attack that target.
Coming around.
So
Got them in my
we're pretty happy with how much we've been able to push back the freeze. I think we've got it about as far back as we'll be able to.
another attack. Getting a lock. Eliminating target.
I copy.
Intercepting.
Because we didn't know before that the projectiles actually counted towards it. And we've done a lot of reduction to projectile counts since then. I think fighters are another opportunity we have to really reduce that. So maybe we'll be able to reduce it even a bit more. But so far we're pretty happy
Target
with
those lasers.
what we've been able to do in that department.
Moving into position.
Craft. Target locked. Coming back around for another run. Getting a lock. Intercepting. I'm on them. Stay in
Got our
formation.
carriers killing their carriers.
Target. Taking fire. Target locked. Excellent shot. I got one.
Alright,
Reporting.
let's
Moving out.
swap this around.
Heading out.
Enemies in range.
I'd like to be able to click it.
Them now. I'm on them. Coming around. Target locked. I've got them in
Star
my sights.
destroyer standing by.
Eliminating target.
Star cruiser standing by.
Coming back around for another run. Getting a lock. Commander, they're hitting us.
I'm pretty sure Starkiller in Force Unleashed can just fight anyone and win at any time. He's just good at everything.
Stay in formation.
There's no one that can beat him.
T2B over.
Right, so these are just going to be ground units.
Tactical battle imminent.
This would be a really good time for an interdictor. Just kill 6 AT-ATs in space.
Ready to receive orders.
Another reminder that that is not the actual skin for the Intego, that is the old skin on the new model.
Ion engines primed. Deploying squadron.
Incoming!
TIE squadron here. Right away. Moving out.
Right, before they can retreat.
Target. Fire at will. TIEs reporting in. Attacking. Orders, sir. Targeting.
So far, except for the Yavitha-related stuff, there also hasn't been many or any crash bugs, so that's encouraging. So I already know where those are coming from. So right, we got a PA raid fleet. Get the ISD.
Roger that. Warm up.
Coming around.
Should we kill those, and then we won't even have to deal with the raid fleet?
Awaiting orders. For the Empire. I've got them in my sights. Excellent shot.
And one more.
Coming back around for another run. Commencing attack run.
Getting a lock. Intercepting.
I got one.
I'm on them. Stay in formation. Get behind them. I have them now.
Okay.
Star Destroyer.
I guess we do have to kill it.
Coming
Yes,
around.
Commander. Let's move out. Let's go.
In my sights.
Okay, cool. So after the stream, I'll go check and I'll see
Your orders.
if I'm able to figure that out for you.
Awaiting your command.
Max is also working on a new Unificent model, so at some point soon we'll be able to show that off, hopefully.
We've got them on scopes. Keep going back. Attack commencing.
I'm on them.
They don't have anything that's actually able to retreat. Yeah, so the unit selection bug, it's an engine bug actually, so it's not something that we can stop from happening, but we can push back when it happens, and we've also Pox made the selection fixer, or the defreezer, so we're able to put it off like that. Well, actually, we don't need to send anything back over here. It's in RAF 6, I guess? Are they retreating from there? Yeah, they mostly are.
Construction complete.
Building under construction. Unit in production.
Okay, so we're just going to grab a bunch of anti-fighter. That's going to be what we need most of.
Vehicle in
Tactical battle
production.
imminent.
Aw.
T2B over. Right away, sir.
Let's grab these guys in.
Gunboat here, sir.
Construction.
Looks like their biggest fleet is actually on our planet.
Gunboat here, sir.
Construction complete. Invasion commencing.
I mean, the NK Necrosis is pretty close to the stupidest thing they've done.
Order, sir.
But, yeah, like, I think when around when 1.3 came out for ICW,
Let's go.
that was the most frequent the era selection, or the selection freeze bug ever was. It was also before the
Your reinforcements.
defreezer existed, so that was a really...
Course plotted.
I think it was the first release that I'd say was decent for the mod, but it was also kind of annoying because it was also the most likely to mess up because of the selection freeze. Yeah, the Sun Crusher's armor was just awful.
Let's go.
That's true.
Keep going.
So we're going to try to get through
Attack. Fire. Open
shield
fire.
gen with our
Target. Attacking
air
target.
strikers.
This way.
Let's fly out this way a bit.
Scouting location.
Now turn around.
Fire at will. Attacking.
We'll start sending our tanks up this way too.
4B mobile. Awaiting orders.
Reporting. Targeting. Firing. We're going in. Ground target locked.
I've really been abusing the air strikers and their OPness right now, but
Initiating swing.
I don't feel that bad about it.
Yes, sir. Weapons online. I've got a lock.
We've lost a build pad.
Attack. Fire. Executing flyby.
All weapons loaded.
Alright, we're making progress there.
Yes, Commander. Copy.
We'll just use the air strikers to
Open fire.
round up anything that's getting away.
Spreading out. Defense assault.
And
Target. Ping brigade. Ready for attack. Target locked. Copy. Right away, sir.
Right away.
Attack. Underway. Fire. Open fire.
Ready.
Attacking.
Attack that target. Attacking target.
here we go.
Reporting in. Moving to coordinates.
With curiosity, you can go into as much of the details as you like. What actually causes the selection to freeze much? So, my understanding of it, at its most basic level, the game tracks all objects essentially by assigning a number to them. So every unit, every planet, every projectile gets a number. And after a certain point, it is like there's a maximum integer for that number, and the game is just no longer able to keep assigning them. So it kind of screws up and it no longer knows what is what, which means you can't select stuff, you can't tell it to do stuff, because it doesn't know what it's telling to do, or what it's giving those orders to. So what the defreezer does is in the save file, it resets that number down to 0, so it can start reassigning everything fresh. I think it might have some effect on what you're able to do. Like, it might have an effect on the scoring at the end of the game, but I'm not 100% sure on that. That might be saved some other way.
Ready. Right away. Engaging target.
Like, Pox knows a lot more about it than I do. But that's roughly what it is.
We've secured a build.
What is even left? Oh, there's stuff hiding over here. There we go.
Planetary control achieved.
Gunboat here, sir. Gunboat here, sir.
Alright,
Gunboat
so
here, sir.
Building started.
Building under construction.
what's actually left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that little fleet. So I think we're gonna leave it there for now, and then the next episode on Wednesday will probably be the finale. So Friday and Sunday we will have the beginning of our Rebel Alliance Empire at War campaign playthrough, and then after that, so probably the first week of September, we'll start the Shadowhand playthrough as the Remnant. And around then we should be starting the AOTR Rebel playthrough as well. So thank you so much for coming, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed the stream. For anyone who came late, definitely go back and check out the VOD, because there were a lot of pretty big battles with the Araido Authority's last remaining fleets, the big 3 around up here especially. We had a couple battles at Fondor, Typhara, and Yagdal. But thanks again for coming, everyone. So I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.